Joyride, a hit and run. I thought I loved you and you thought I was fun. I'm moving on down the road. Watch me as I go, watch me as I go. Should I look both ways before you cross me, baby? 'Cause I don't break for boys. I'm moving on. For miles.
Alongside me is Kyle Heyer. We have a fun day of racing here. 15 drivers in our Spec Miata class will be completing 20 laps around the South Circuit here at the Autobahn Country Club. Kyle, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Matt. Thanks for having me here again. This is an exceptional race circuit today. The conditions are going to be extraordinarily challenging. A little bit of rain earlier, and as it dries, that will provide a challenge for all of the entrants here today. Let's have a look at an onboard lap here at Autobahn Country Club, the South Course. Let's see what this about 2-mile lap looks like.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Autobahn Country Club's 2.1-mile South Circuit. Race cars are going to be lined up 2 by 2, waiting for the green flag to fly from the starter stand. And once they cross that start-finish line, all bets are off as everyone goes as fast as they can into Turn 1. Turn 1 are where passes and crashes happen, so keep an eye on all of the action as these cars maneuver their way around Turn 1. Now, they're going to come up very quickly into Turn 2. It's basically one very large turn here, and then with a quick flick of the steering wheel, you're going to set yourself up for Turn 3. At this point, everyone can take a deep breath that they made it through, but now they're going to go flat out to the short chute all the way down into Turn 4. Turn 4 is a very fast corner that you're going to start all the way from the outside of the corner, come down to the apex right about here. And again, most of these drivers are going to be full throttle through this section. So a very fast portion of the track coming up in these next couple of corners. Now, turn 5, you are going to accelerate all the way through very fast and early apex through turn 5, and then you got to watch your mirrors, make sure no one is setting you up for a pass as you head into turn 6. So, you little tap of the brakes here, turn in for turn 6, and again, trying to fight off all of the cars behind you as they're jockeying for position. Now we come into another fast portion of the track for turn 7. It's just a slight kink. You're again on the power, going as fast as you possibly can, but then you are going to head into turn 8. Turn 8 is a great passing opportunity. So watch your mirrors, watch for someone moving towards the inside, but you're going to hammer on those brakes, start slowing the car down as you go through turn 8. And we come up to a corner called Patience, because that is exactly what you'll need for this corner, because it's one of the slowest portions of the track. Again, you're going to watch for people trying to set you up for a maneuver around turn 10 and trying to beat you down the longest straightaway here at the track, which is our back straightaway between turns 10 and 11. This is 1,850 feet long. A great opportunity for drivers to take a deep breath. Speeds are increasing well over 100 miles an hour here, but check your mirrors because, again, someone is going to try and get around you. That's the name of racing right here, folks. But the brave drivers are probably going to start braking around the 3 or possibly even the 2 marker, but you got to slow that car down because it is a tight right-hander as they come through turn 11 and then a very fast turn 12 as well. So these corners come up very, very quickly when you're at racing speeds. Up next is turn 13, which are the final 2 corners before the end of the lap. So it's very important to maintain your speed and your position through these corners. And I don't know about you folks, but I'm already exhausted. And yet somehow our drivers have the stamina to do this lap after lap. Thank you for riding along with us today and enjoy the races here at Autobahn Country Club.
The production tower, that was our video lap around the South Circuit here. So, Kyle, let's take a look at our starting grid here for our Spec Miata class. Row 1 will be Jim Dvorak on the pole. He wins the pole position by over a second over the outside pole sitter Alex Bertagnoli in the number 14.
And starting in row number 2, in third place is the number 190 of Scott Ballard. Alongside him will be the 144 of Brandon Collins.
Row 3 will be Ethan Tyler, who came up just ever so close in the Oktoberfest here last October. He'll be starting alongside the number 157 of Matt Alexander for row 3.
And row 4 is the number 77 of Billy Benning and the number 3 of Tom Bagley.
Tom Bagley starting 8th, and row 5 will be the number 71 of Greg Sorg alongside the SM rookie, number 333 of Eric Halleck.
Brandon Schwartz is carrying our onboard camera today. He will start in position number 11. The number 15, Art Zeismer, starts in 12th.
And last time's winner, Taro Kishida, in the number 60, starting all the way back in 13th. Alongside is Dave Hicks in the number 25 in 14th.
And rounding out the field in 15th place is the number 320 of Mike Ryan.
All right, Kyle. So as we go alongside here in our onboard of Brandon Schwartz, rainy day here in Joliet. Not horrible downpours, not completely stormy weather, but just very overcast, a lot of drizzling rain. What are we going to expect for today's race in terms of the tires?
Well, with overcast skies here and a little bit of rain on the South Circuit, the pavement changes are one of the big challenges that we'll be fighting. There's some new pavement over there around 5, 6, and 7, Matt. The other challenge, you mentioned the tires. If you've got a wet tire, that might be beneficial to you for a little while, but to keep that tire cool, you need to stay in the water. If the dry line starts to form, that wet tire is going to get hot and it'll get greasy.
Well, the drivers here are going to get themselves going here for the race in today as they're going to go down this long back straightaway here at the South Circuit of the Autobahn Country Club, just going by here Garage Mahal. Again, this is going to be a rainy race here today. I fully expect, Kyle, that the SM racers are going to sort of clear the track up, maybe make it a little bit more drier for the SM2 drivers that will be racing just this afternoon and later on.
Yeah, certainly they're going to dry the track out. One of the things you and I talked about there during the break was, well, 15 cars. You're going to be pretty aggressive, right? We've had fields of north of 30 before, and you tend to be maybe a bit more tentative about making moves here. But with 15 drivers on the entry list, you're going to go for it. You can see that front row. It's not too far up the road, so I'd expect a lot of aggression here, even with the treacherous conditions. I bet we're going to see some action on the opening laps, at least until people get into that groove.
Well, there was definitely a lot of aggression here on the opening lap of last time's race just 2 weeks ago. We saw a two-car accident with Tom Bagley in the number 3 and Dave Hicks in the 25, and drivers were warned in the drivers' meeting today about being less aggressive and more patient on the opening lap, as we did see on display in the last race. But we do have some interesting strategies here. Taro Kishida in the number 60, I did talk to him in the drivers' meeting, and I was like, so what's your plan for today? We're starting in the back. Wet conditions out there, much more different than what they were the last time around when he led all the laps here and won the race here 2 weeks ago. And he just said to me, just wants to keep 4 tires on the asphalt and just not go out in the grass here, which I think, honestly, for today, Kyle, is going to be the strategy for all the racers out here, and not just our SM race, but our SM2 race and our GT Challenge later this afternoon.
Well, keeping 4 tires in the black stuff, easier said than done a lot of times here. As I mentioned, the pavement changes. You've got some undulations and some bumps that have really given this track some character. But in the wet conditions, that can be challenging. You see here on the approach up to turn number 6, the new pavement, lots of grip there because there's really good drainage on that new pavement. So as you're working your way through this section, you can carry a bit more lateral G than you can elsewhere on this circuit. But I think the start of this race is going to be pretty telling of where the grip is. Everyone will be everywhere, and then that dry line will start to form, and everyone will kind of fall in line, I think.
Well, we also did some pace laps before the race here. You and I went out there with Jordan Missick, who we will be getting on this broadcast here for an interview later on. But, yeah, we did go over that new painted area of the track, and there was a lot of slick points in that track, mainly coming over in turn 5 and 6. In that area. And we'd also like to thank Lexus. Lexus is the official pace car for today's race. The ultra-white LC500 is the official pace car for the 2023 season at the Autobahn Country Club. And Kyle, that was the car that we ended up going around in those pace laps there. What'd you think of that Lexus LC500?
There's something great about a Lexus around a circuit. They just dig so well coming up off the corners here at Autobahn Country Club. A very technical circuit and a track that the Lexus seems to fit right in at. So that was really fun. I've not done a lot of laps around here in the back seat of a car, but that was a lot of fun here earlier today. So we're getting lined up. We're racked up and stacked up. I've just been told that there are 4 drivers that are on slick tires. Everyone else is on wet. So mixed strategy there in terms of tire selection. We can still see droplets, Matt. So that means that 4 drivers are either going to have a really good time or a really bad time here in just a moment.
Well, the slicks are definitely going to be an interesting decision for those drivers as the pace car is going to pull a head off here. But, yeah, those laps around the LC500, Ryan in the backseat. Thank you once again for letting me ride shotgun. But here we're going to get the field going too wide. Here's the pace car pulls off. Green flag will be waving in the air this time by 20 laps around the South Circuit here at the Autobahn Country Club. Green flag will be waving in the air in just a second. Green flag starter in hand. And we are racing already 4 wide, it looks like, going here through the start-finish line. As Jim Dvorak and Alex Bertagnoli have pressured. Dvorak hangs for the moment, but Brandon Collins in that 144 trying to make a move on the outside here, Kyle.
Pretty dicey stuff through the first corner. Everyone trying to find grip. The silver car advances out to the front through turn 3. A big slide and off in the dirt there for just a moment, but gathers it back up. Tense moments here, Matt, as everyone tries to find where the grip is here on this opening lap. They've done it in their road cars. They've done it on the pace laps, and now they have to do it at speed in the pack.
Well, I think we talked about before that start there, Kyle, wets and slicks, and the 4 drivers who are on the slicks were either going to have a fun time or a not-so-fun time. And it looks like that may be happening for Jim Dvorak, who has already fallen back to 3rd at the moment here as Brandon Collins has set sail for the moment. It looks like that's the 190 of Scott Ballard that got around him for a second. And Dvorak goes off the grass there, off in the grass for our pole sitter, Jim Dvorak, having a tough time here on this opening lap as he is falling towards the back of the top 10 as now Scott Ballard in the 190 sets his sights on Brandon Collins for the race lead.
Dvorak really struggling, and you have to wonder how much the conditions have changed from when they qualified here this morning on board with Brennan Schwartz having a look to the left here. This is a tight corner here to get this Spec Miata tacked up on the gears. Now up onto the long back straightaway here. Maybe a bit of slipstream, but the conditions are so treacherous. Here comes a big run as the speed climbs to the north of the triple digits here. Down the backstretch, looking driver's left.
Going side by side with our defending winner, Taro Kishida, here as they make their way to the turn 11 area here of the South Circuit. And the field still trying to go too wide there. More shuffling going around towards the middle of the pack there. Eric Halleck in the 333 behind a couple cars there as the field will come around this time by to complete the opening lap here. And it's Scott Ballard in the 190 who got around Brandon Collins. Collins falling back to third as the 14 of Alex Bertagnoli has retaken the second spot here. Matt Alexander moves to fourth, and Ethan Tyler in the 08 up to fifth. So a very interesting first lap, to say the least, here, as our top two didn't even lead the first lap at all. It's from the second row, Scott Ballard in the 190 starting third.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, trouble for the pole sitter. He has now fallen all the way back to 8th place. But up front, it's Scott Ballard, as you mentioned, in the number 190 car. The 14 of Alex Bertagnoli runs in second place. Brandon Collins in third. Collins is one that I've seen run up front here at Autobahn Country Club on the full course back on May 6th. He's always a threat to win here. See how they're taking that wider line through here, Matt? Definitely not on the dry line. We thought that they would be on the dry line. It wasn't really soaked through. We hadn't lost the track, but they do look like, as we have a big slide around Dvorak there, that they're looking for where the grip is, and it's not on the dry line right now.
Well, that was a battle for position. Eric Halleck looked to the outside of Jim Dvorak, swung all the way out there trying to get a nice entry into that turn, Kyle, but just wasn't able to pull it off. As the field will now make their way down the backstretch. On board with Brandon Schwartz here, looking out in front of him is the former Indy 500 starter of Tom Bagley in the number 3. Bagley making laps here around this time around. Ended up spinning and crashing on the opening lap of the last race. As the field goes down the back straightaway, Scott Ballard still leading, Bertagnoli right behind him. And the field now looks to be single file for the moment, as they'll be making their way in the SS area here of turn 11 and 12 as we get the rest of the field going down towards the back straightaway here. Again, Scott Ballard last time by ran a 1-minute 53 second, about half a second quicker than second place Alex Bertagnoli. But Bertagnoli closing up a little bit there. They ran similar lap times that last time by here, Kyle, as the field will come around to complete 2 laps in this race.
And Halleck up the inside here of Dvorak down into turn number 1. Wasn't able to clear him, but keeps the overlap through turn number 2. Now that's going to get tight and dicey as they swing back to the left for turn 3. I was watching Brandon Collins on the run down to turn 12. He was running a defensive line. I'm not sure if that was to play defense for Matt Alexander. As we watch this battle again, here comes a sweep over from our onboard car, Brandon Schwartz, 3 abreast into turn number 4. That was awesome stuff, and he slots across the nose of both of them. That was great.
What a pass from the 46 of Brandon Schwartz. Eric Halleck and Jim Dvorak battling for 8th place, and Brandon Schwartz ducked to the inside and said, nope, I'm going to take a 2-for-1 here, and he got around both those cars as Brandon Schwartz moves in to the 8th spot right now ahead of Eric Halleck. And we got some 3-wide racing as Dvorak still struggling. Looks like he's going to fall outside the top 10 here as he gets pushed towards the back of the pack. Taro Kishida leading a pack of 4 cars trying to make their way to the top 10 as Dvorak looks the inside of that red car there. That looks to be the number 3 of Tom Bagley as the field makes their way down the back straightaway here. Scott Ballard still leading, but it looks like the top 4 has broken away from the rest of the field. It's Ballard leading, Bertagnoli second, Brandon Collins third, as now, looks like it's Alexander in third, goes the outside of Bertagnoli. Collins falling back to 4th. And what a shot here going down the back straightaway here. Tremendous racing. These drivers are showing all bravery, no cautiousness on these first opening laps here, Kyle.
And those front 4 are establishing some distance back to P5 on back, and what that means is they can scrap amongst themselves without falling victim to that next group. But really, it's the top 3 now, as looks like Brandon Collins has fallen out of that top bunch. So as they do battle into turn 1 here, it's Alexander on the outside, Bertagnoli on the inside, and Ballard leading, but not by much. Fastest lap goes to the 46 of Brandon Schwartz. He is slicing and dicing up to 7th place.
Brandon Schwartz back in 7th, just ran the fastest lap, but he's got a lot of work, Kyle, to make his way back up here as we go on board with him behind Greg Sorg that rainbow color segment. Ooh, a little slide there from Schwartz in the 46 car as trying to make his way in the top 5. He'll try and make the same move 3 wide again as Sorg and Ethan Tyler battling for 5th place. But Brandon thinks better of it here this time as Sorg and Tyler go side by side. Now Sorg going to gain the position here. Oh, another slide from Schwartz. He pushes Tyler up the racetrack there. Incredible racing here. This is a wad of 6 or 7 cars that'll be fighting for position here towards the back of the top 10.
Schwartz is not holding back at all. He is absolutely on it, putting pressure on. The cork in the bottle right now is that battle between Ethan Tyler and Greg Sorg. They were door-to-door for a moment, and Schwartz was the third driver in that mix. And you always worry when you introduce that third car that the other two are distracted with each other and don't see that third car, the number 46 of Schwartz in the mix. But he is coming and coming quick and on a mission up front.
Well, it looks like we have a new race leader battle going on for the lead as we go down the back straightaway here. Scott Ballard in the 190 just lost the lead, and he's going to go 3 wide here on the lead. 3 wide battle for the lead, and Ballard retakes it over the 14 of Alex Bertagnoli. What a race here, and what a pass from Scott Ballard, who lost the lead, but looks like Bertagnoli looks the inside. But Scott Ballard going to soar ahead on that outside there. It's Alexander and Bertagnoli fighting hard. It looks like a little contact there for a second as they'll come by to complete the lap number 4 of this race.
And while those three are scrapping, look who it's brought back into the mix. Brandon Collins in that silver and blue 144 is right back on the heels of the front 3. So it's still a little ways back to P5 and beyond, but the front 4 are accordioning back together once again. Scott Ballard lost that lead for a little bit, and he still is feeling pressure from Bertagnoli, who looks to the inside into turn 4.
Bertagnoli looks the inside, has the preferred line, and he will use it to retake the lead over Scott Ballard in the 190. Tremendous racing here. Kyle, they are not holding back at all. This is no attack, no chance type of mentality here. They've been watching Takuma Sato here on the IndyCar circuit having that type of mentality as Bertagnoli sets a little bit of distance between himself and the rest as Collins goes off the grass there, able to keep it going upright, and it's bringing the top 10, the rest of the top 10 behind them within range of the leaders is now Alexander. Actually, Alexander looks to lead. And it's Ballard and Bertagnoli trying to fight him for position as the remaining top 10 going by here, heading towards the back straightaway.
I always liken Spec Miata racing to playing a game of race car chess. Where do you want to be? When do you want to be there? 16 laps to go, a long way to go. Is it too early to be battling this hard? Certainly Bertagnoli does not think so, as he just assaults his way to the front and now leads by about 8 and 10 car lengths here. And a battle for second down into turn number 12. As Ballard playing defense now after leading the opening couple of laps.
Alexander in the lead, actually. 2 black cars going by here. It was Alexander leading and Bertagnoli in second. Apologies for that mix-up there. But it looks like Bertagnoli gets around Ballard for the second spot as it's brought the rest of the field with them. And Alexander setting pace. I think it was the race you were here last, Kyle. Alexander led almost every lap and almost won it, but had mechanical issues as we go on board Brandon Schwartz here once again. Schwartz in 6th. Right now, are actually in 6th at the moment, trying to get around the 71 of Greg Sorg once again. And look who's behind him. Taro Kishida and the number 60, who's just been slicing and dicing his way up to the top 10. He told me that his strategy in the driver's meeting was simply just to keep all 4 tires on the asphalt. He's done that so far, and look where that's got him, up in the top 10 here as we go on board with Brandon Schwartz again.
Yeah, Kishida is certainly keeping the pressure on him in the rearview mirror in the top left there, the Sentinel onboard cam. You can see how close that 60 is. He is on a mission. I'm a little surprised that Schwartz's forward progress has halted just a little bit. And behind Kishida is at the 77 of Billy Benning that's right behind him, maybe putting some pressure on the 60. So while the battle is hot for the lead, so is it for 5th, 6th, and 7th. They continue to do battle here as we're still in the first 5 laps of this 20-lap race.
Well, Matt Alexander has checked out, but from second on back, it is a dead heat here as Alex Bertagnoli and Scott Ballard are still out ahead just a little bit, but we have more battling as Greg Sorg overtakes the 4th spot from Brandon Collins. Collins' car fading a little bit once again. He still lands on the top 5. Now Schwartz on board with him goes the outside of Collins, heading down the back straightaway here, and he will clear him. Ethan Tyler behind him is going to go around him as well. So trouble for Brandon Collins, it seems. Looks like his car just isn't handling. Now Taro goes the inside of Collins, heading towards the end of this back straightaway here. We take a look at the remainder of the field, and Taro actually goes ahead, not only Collins, but Schwartz. So Taro Kishida wasting no time from his 13th starting spot, making his way all the way on the verge of the top 5 as he tries to look for a way around the number 08 of Ethan Tyler as Alexander continues to lead here at the Autobahn Country Club.
Big look down the inside for Kushida into turn number 1 as well. And what I like about what Kushida's doing is he looks so meticulous and calculated. He's not throwing the car down the inside and being aggressive and wild with it. It's careful, planned passes, and that's how he's making this progress. We've watched the onboard from Brandon Schwartz. He's had some sideways moments. We haven't seen a whole lot of that out of Taro Kushida. Just very calculated maneuvers right now. It's just a little side-by-side in behind them. But up front, Alexander now leads by 4.8 seconds. He has found some comfort in the conditions right now, and the advantage is about 25 car lengths.
Well, Matt Alexander has basically checked out here, and we talked about Taro Kushida. Taro is a masterclass of defensive driving. We've seen him hold off the young driver in Connor Willis multiple times here, but now he is on the offense, and here we go. Looks the inside of the 4 cars ahead of him here. This is from 2nd to 5th. And it looks like Taro's going to think better of it for the moment as he still slots in behind Greg Sorg. But Taro Kushida has a fast car. And honestly, Kyle, if it wasn't for him starting back in the 13th starting spot, he would probably be leading or up front battling for the lead right now with the 157 of Matt Alexander. But Alexander continues to pace the field. He set the quickest lap of this race with a 1 minute 43 second .353. That is fast here around this wet surface here as we got 3 wide battles. Now Sorg looks the inside of Ballard, who overtakes Bertagnoli for second again. Outcome here going towards the front straightaway here, and it's Ballard with the advantage. He retakes second as Bertagnoli now falls to 4th. Looks like he may fall to 5th after Greg Sorg clears him as we complete another lap.
And Kushida just watching all this out the windshield. So is Brandon Schwartz. This is an incredible battle here as we come across the stripe. And Kushida, last time by, was a full second quicker than 4 of the drivers ahead of him. Very tight into turn number 1, though, as Ballard tries to put distance on Sorg, and the rest behind them are still side by side. Kushida's one of them. 1 car slow to the outside of turn 2.
Looked like that was Ethan Tyler in the 08 as his car faded a little bit there. Maybe have charged the corner a little bit too hard, but all this jockeying for position from second on back is just giving more real estate for Matt Alexander, who set the new fastest lap of the race with a 1 minute 42.160 that last time by. But Scott Ballard still leading here in second. This battle for second going on right now. Greg Sorg with a great day has moved up to 3rd, but Taro Kushida is all over the back of him now as Sorg is all over the back of Scott Ballard in that 190. Now Sorg looks the inside. Advantage Sorg, and Taro Kushida pushing him over in the turn. Kushida looks the inside of Sorg, trying to take second place. Careful, Taro, don't slide up into him. He slides up into him. No contact for the moment, and Sorg hangs on to second for the moment. I saw you holding your breath here just a second, Kyle. You okay?
I'm great. I mentioned that Kushida looks so calculated, and that was a bit more aggressive because he sees the leader driving away. Here's the opportunity now for Schwartz to get by a group of those cars as they head down the back straightaway. Sorg, Ballard, Bertagnoli, and Kushida all locked in this incredible fight for second place. It's a distance behind Alexander. Big lock up there. I think that is the 46R camera car, Brandon Schwartz.
Well, Taro Kushida has jumped from all the way from 13th to 2nd in about 8 laps as him and Greg Sorg have gone around Scott Ballard in the 190. Tremendous race from Taro Kushida. Again, his only strategy was just keep the car on the asphalt, don't go off in the grass, don't charge the corner a little bit too hard, and look where that's gotten him. Up to 2nd spot right now as he looks to... I'm not sure if he can catch Matt Alexander, but he's definitely, I feel, he can put a lot of distance between himself and the rest of this field behind him here.
Another car I'm watching is one that started from the tail of the field, Mike Bernardi in the number 8. He just ran the fastest lap of the race at a 1:41.716. That is 100th of a second faster than our race leader right now as we go side by side into turn number 4. And they come out the other side, pointed the same direction, which is great news for us. The advantage from Alexander to Kushida is 12.2 seconds. Can the 60 eat into that advantage? We still have a long, long way to go.
There's been so much action happening here, Kyle. We're not even halfway through this race. We've been having so much side-by-side, bumper-to-bumper action, and we still got it going here towards the back of the top 10 as we see Taro and Greg Sorg have basically pushed themselves away from 4th place. I believe that's Scott Ballard there as we go. No, that's Brandon Schwartz, our in-car camera. Schwartz getting around Scott Ballard. There's Ballard there behind him in the 190, and another wiggle from Brandon Schwartz. Again, Schwartz, another driver that's on the rise here, got the promotion from SM2 to Spec Miata this year, had a great race the last time here, finished in the top 10, and now trying to get himself a top 5 finish here in our Spec Miata race.
Well, I'm not sure if it's just a result of him having the camera on his car, but he has been Mr. Excitement so far this afternoon here on a wet racetrack. Look at how tight everything is behind Ballard right now as they work their way through the far end of the course and back up towards turns 14 and 15 to round out the lap. Still a little side by side, but they are stringing out now. Alexander retakes the fastest lap, but Kushida didn't eat into that advantage, but he ran a really quick lap, a 1:41.727, only a tenth off of Alexander, which means he'll probably put some distance on Sorg and the rest of the field there as we work our way through the second half of this race.
You know what I do like? I like what I'm seeing from Greg Sorg so far. He's not running as fast of laps as Taro Kushida is, but he is not letting him get fully away. He probably will get fully away, but Greg Sorg with a masterclass drive so far in that multicolored number 71. As we have more battling here, looks like it's Ethan Tyler to the inside of Scott Ballard. That is for 5th. And they're going to try and go 3 wide here from 5th to 7th. Hang on, guys. It looks like they're going to split Ethan Tyler. They're still going 3 wide, heading towards the turn 6 area as Ballard maintains the advantage. Now Halleck in the 333 trying to take over here alongside the 320 of Mike Ryan. And Kyle, you're just throwing your hands up in the air. What are these guys doing right now? They're like, we don't care that it's a wet surface. Let's go for it.
It's like you threw a bunch of race cars in a blender. Who's going to come out on top of this battle? It has just been nip and tuck back and forth all race long, and we still have 11 laps to go as the battle continues. And Ballard is a bit on defense right now, and you have to go back to the tire selection at the beginning of this race. The track is clearly drying out. The lap times continue to get faster every lap by. So which drivers are on slicks, which drivers are on wets? We know that 4 are on the dry weather tire. I wonder if those are the ones that are moving forward here. Look at this battle into turn 11.
Tremendous racing here. Again, this is from 5th place on back. It's Mike Ryan in the 320. Haven't talked so much about him. What a pass around the 190 of Matt Ballard to move into the top 5. Mike Ryan in the 320 moving into the top 5. Now Ethan Tyler trying to overtake Scott Ballard for the 6th spot here. They're all single file here, all bunched up right together from about 6th to 12th on the racetrack here as Ryan pulls ahead here as Kyle, would you believe me if I said it's already we have finally reached the halfway point of this exciting, thrilling race as they're still 2 wide bunching up together going up into turns 1 and 2 here on the South Circuit?
Well, the Le Mans 24 was yesterday and today, but it feels like this race is going by really quickly with how much time we've got left to go. I wanted to point out that the driver we were just mentioning, Mike Ryan, he started dead last in the field, 15th place, and he's driven all the way up now to, looks like, P5 and continues his climb. I wonder if that's one of those drivers that's on those slick, dry weather tires. We can see the dry line forming very clearly now on the new pavement through turns 6 and 7. And this is where, if you on the wet weather tire, you're going to start burning up that tread. You're going to start overheating the carcass of the tire, and you're going to lose lateral grip and drive off the corner. And that will hurt you in the next 10 laps of this race. So how many drivers were looking that far ahead, and how many were looking just a couple laps in the future?
Well, that's the thing here. I mean, we've seen a lot of drivers go from the back to the front, and a lot of them going from the front to the back. I mean, Jim Dvorak has fallen all the way back to 14th right now. Brandon Collins has fallen back to 12th. Matt Alexander, who started towards the middle of the pack in 6th, has moved up to the lead right now, and Taro Kushida and Mike Ryan have moved their way up into the top 5. I mean, Kyle, this has just been a tremendous race here, and a lot of it goes back to the tire selection. The track is definitely changing as we have more jockeying for position. Ballard trying to hold off. Looks like that's Bertagnoli in the 14 and Eric Halleck in the 333 as Ethan Tyler has gotten around this bunch for 6. So Ballard on the defense. I think those tires are starting to affect the handling of that car as we complete 11 laps here in this race, as it looks like it's brought Billy Benning in the 77 into the equation. Now Bertagnoli looks the inside of Ballard for the moment, but going to think better of it now. It still looks the inside, and Bertagnoli's got to move here because he's feeling the 333 of Eric Halleck just all over the back bumper of that race car.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of shuffling even this late in the race because if you look at our qualifying times, our fastest lap was a 1:58.511. Our best lap of the race now is a 1:40.49. That's 18 seconds a lap different from qualifying this morning, which means that a lot different skill level is going to drive to the front here. Drivers that are really good in the rain, that are maybe not so good in the dry, they're going to start to shuffle backwards and vice versa for those that are moving forward. As this battle continues, Matt, it's a very different race than qualifying, and typically you'd expect your qualifiers that start up front to stay up front. That has not been the case so far today.
No, that has definitely not been the case so far. It looks like they're trying to catch the 08 of Ethan Tyler once again here as we go with this tremendous drone shot going down the back straightaway here. Scott Ballard and this bunch there catching back up to the number 08 of Ethan Tyler. Tyler got around Ballard the last lap by, but Looks like Tyler's car isn't handling as well as Ballard is trying to rein him back in. This is a battle for 6th to about 10th as we have the 333 of Eric Halleck in the background there. Billy Benning in the 77 has moved into 10th. A little bit of a bump there into the back of Bertagnoli. Alex Bertagnoli's got to go. He's been right around too long behind the back of the 190 of Scott Ballard as we have more jockeying for position. Now Tyler looks to be pulling a little bit more of an advantage ahead of Scott Ballard here for the moment. Bertagnoli looks to the inside as we complete another lap here. What a racing here so far, and we got more racing for position going up ahead. It looks like Mike Bernardi in that number 8 that we were talking about going after the number 320 of Mike Ryan. I got to meet Mike Bernardi for the first time in the driver's meeting. Very nice guy, former champion here about 15 years ago, Kyle. He knows how to get around this place, and right now he's putting it to the test as he is trying to look for a top 5 position here on the 320 of Mike Ryan.
There's still plenty of battling deep in the field, but I am watching the timing screen up towards the front because Matt Alexander last time by ran a 140.4. Taro Kishida did a 139.4. That's a second quicker. The gap is now just 11 seconds. If he can continue to chip away chunks like that, he could get close to Matt Alexander by the end of this race. If he can take more time out, we're going to have a battle for the lead before this is over. You thought Matt Alexander was gone? Well, Kishida's going to reel him back in.
Well, this was a thing here. We wanted to see how Taro Kishida would do, starting in the back of the pack on a very slick track as we have more bustling for position. Now looks like Bertagnoli goes the inside of Ballard here for that 7th position. What a drone shot here. And now we have another position. Bernardi waving thank you to Mike Ryan in the 320 for letting him go by as Bernardi will move into the top 5. But, yeah, the test for Taro Kishida today was to see how well he would do, starting in the back of the pack, trying to move his way to the front. We weren't sure if he could catch Matt Alexander for the lead, but he sure is chipping off some more of that time, as it looks like, again, the lap times were a little bit similar. Matt Alexander about 9/10 of a second slower than Taro Kishida in second place, as the gap is now down to 10.5 seconds here, Kyle. What could we see in the finish of this race as we have 7 laps to go around this South Circuit?
If you extrapolate the math there on the difference, Kishida's not going to get there, but the gain is not consistent. He's taking big chunks out some laps and smaller chunks out other laps. And what that means is you can't extrapolate that math. Who knows where Alexander is going to be? And he's running his best laps of the race, but so is Taro Kishida. So, and Taro's quicker right now. So even with Alexander going as fast as he has gone all day long, his gap is coming down. And so while there's still battling happening, that front 2, that's going to be an interesting one before this day is over.
Well, you talk about the battle for the lead right now, but you also got to take another factor into account here, and that is lapped traffic, because Matt Alexander is going to be catching up to lap traffic here very, very quickly, as he ran a faster lap that last time. Taro was about maybe 0.4 a second quicker just that last time by, as trying to set his sights here as we have more battling going on here. This, again, still the battle for about 7th to 10th. Bertagnoli has gone around he's gone around Ballard now. Billy Benning has gone around Ballard, and Eric Halleck looks for a way around the number 190. So, again, it looks like those tires have come into effect here. Scott Ballard in the 190 has sort of lost touch with the lead pack here. Those tires haven't been going away. His handling isn't going as good as we see more jockeying here. Now, Halleck looks the inside of Ballard. This is a battle for the 10th position here, as Benning looks the inside of Bertagnoli. Now Benning with the inside advantage. He's going to go in the grass to take over that 7th spot from Bertagnoli for the moment. And Bertagnoli using the inside around on a crossover. He's going to take away the 7th spot here, as Halleck, it looks like he fell in the grass a bit there trying to get around the 190 of Scott Ballard for that position.
Well, that's how you know the track's getting drier, because they're using more of it. They're getting up on the curbs. It really is just the verges of the track and where it meets the curbing that there's still some standing water. Elsewhere, it looks pretty much good to go. Drivers wouldn't be on the curbs if they weren't grippy, and that was a big move down there as we got that 3-way battle for position midway through the field here. The 14 leading that little train as we head down into turn number 4. That's a dive there. It's such a tight corner because it's a little bit off camber when you enter, and as you kind of sweep through, the car wants to push to the outside. As we sweep through now turn 5, the 190 of Ballard following that 3-horse race for 8th place.
Well, that was a wonderful shot there as we saw those 3 cars just sweep their way through about the turn 4 area. Still going here as Billy Benning is looking for a way around the number 14 of Alex Bertagnoli. Bertagnoli, the pole sitter. Here goes Benning looking to the inside. This for 8th. going to try and make a dive happening, but Bertagnoli uses the outside momentum to his advantage for the moment. Hangs on to that position. We have, wouldn't you believe, we have 5 laps to go in this race here. Tremendous racing here as we go take a look down the back straightaway. And Scott Ballard, with those two battling for position, Ballard has closed back in on those two for the 8th spot. But it looks like Benning looks the outside of Bertagnoli, trying a different line here this time by. Tried the inside the last time, now looks the outside. Has the position, and he's going to clear Bertagnoli for that 8th place. So Billy Benning finally getting around Alex Bertagnoli for the 8th position. As we go on board again here and look at Brandon Schwartz has gone overtaken by Mike Bernardi. Bernardi has moved up to 4th, looking to try and pass the number 71 of Greg Sork for 3rd spot. Bernardi has had a fast car in this race here today. Not sure where he started, but, man, he has moved his way up through the field so far.
I don't believe Bernardi even qualified, so he started back in 16th place, from what I recall at the very beginning. So he's driven through the entire field with the exception of now the top 3. Could he get on the podium in the final 5 laps of this one? Who knows? All I can tell you now is that Kushida lost a little time to Matt Alexander. That time through the gap is 9.5 seconds. Will it come all the way down to 0? I'm not sure, but he's been taking away chunks. And Alexander, he can see that car getting a little bit bigger in the mirror, and that's distracting and nerve-wracking perhaps if you're Matt Alexander, especially because you've been so quick so far. But 5 laps to go, and things are beginning to wind down here.
Things are definitely beginning to wind down here, but I do want to say something. Matt Alexander did run the quickest lap of his race that last time by with a 1 minute 40.057 that last time by. That was about 0.3 seconds quicker than Taro Kushida. So Taro wasn't able to do much that last time by with Matt Alexander. I think he may be pretty well set in second. But you got to look at where he started the day and where he's going to finish. I mean, he picked up 11 spots, one of the biggest movers in today's race. I say one of because Mike Bernardi in the number 8 probably is, as we still have more jockeying for position as Greg Soar goes around the lap car of Dave Hicks in the number 25 to put him a lap down. Now Bernardi closing in on the back of Greg Sork, that multiple color number 71, trying to get a podium finish here is Mike Bernardi, the former champion here at the Autobahn Country Club. As in that number 8 car, he's going to try and look the inside here going into the turns 4 area right now. Looks the inside, has some room, but Sork going to power ahead with that outside momentum as Schwartz is under pressure from the number 320 of Mike Ryan as we go on board with him again here. Love this camera shot from the in-car camera of Brandon Schwartz here in that Signature Productions number 46 as Bernardi just looking to size up Greg Sork for the 3rd spot as it looks like Mike Ryan is trying to do the same for Brandon Schwartz here for the 5th position, Kyle.
We'll see if Sork can hang on to it. Bernardi is now the fastest car on the racetrack, a 39.1 last time by to the inside in a big sideways slide. Sidesteps the car alongside Sork, and wow, the 46 clobbered the blunt end of the curb there in his number 46, and through goes the 320 of Mike Ryan. So a little wide for Schwartz, hammered the curb, and on through goes the 320 with his sights set on 3rd place as Sork and Bernardi continue to battle.
Well, Brandon Schwartz definitely lost a lot of time. And here goes Bernardi with a big swing out to the inside. Bernardi with that inside momentum has the preferred line for the moment, and it looks like he's going to take the 3rd position right now as Greg Sork going to fall back to the 4th spot here. Bernardi with that inside momentum is going to clear Sork as we have 3 laps to go in this race. Mike Bernardi marching all the way from 16th to 3rd in this race. Again, this is a product that we were talking about, Kyle, of tires being lot different, changing the factor here as the track is changing as now Sorg is under pressure from Mike Ryan in that number 320 for the 4th spot. What a run here for some of these drivers like Bernardi, Sorg, and Mike Ryan, names that we normally don't see up towards the front.
Yeah, Sorg had an exceptional race up until this point, but the podium just slipped through his fingers, and Mike Ryan wants to take 4th place away, following very closely behind through turn number 4, and he's sizing up that number 71, the brightly colored car that was maintaining 3rd place for now. The gap between the 2 leaders, 7 seconds. It came down a good chunk, about almost 2 seconds last time by, but Bernardi runs 3rd now, Sork 4th, Mike Ryan 5th, and that is your closest battle on the racetrack right now, is that one just outside the last step on the podium.
Well, Brandon Schwartz has definitely fallen back. He has fallen out of touch with this top 5 battle here as Ryan looks Ryan still all over the back bumper of Sorg. He's probably going to get a run on him going down the back straightaway here, Kyle. I'll bet you any money on that. As Bernardi sets sail for the moment here. Taro Kishida, that last time by, he ran about a 1.5 seconds quicker than Matt Alexander here. As there goes Tara around the lap car of Jim Dvorak, the pole sitter. As here we go down the back straightaway here. As Sorg still maintaining advantage over Mike Ryan. Looks like he's put a little bit of distance, just a little bit of a gap between himself and Mike Ryan, trying to hang on to this 4th spot here as Bernardi comes around to this next time by, as we'll get 2 laps to go here. Next time by for the leaders, it will be the white flag lap as Bernardi still hanging on to 3rd right now over Sorg and Ryan. As Ryan ducks the inside of Sorg, going to look the inside here for the 4th spot, going to have the line slides up a little bit. Still side by side as they go through turns 1 and 2. Now Sorg with the preferred line on the inside. Touch, contact, and Sorg powers ahead for the lead. Or Willie sideways for 4th. Now Ryan looks to the inside for the 4th spot, and it looks like he may take it here, or will he? What a battle for 4th spot here. Sorg with a power move on the inside, slid all the way up, made a bit of contact. Somehow they both saved it, and they're still fighting side by side. Greg Sorg in that 71 not giving up 4th spot here from Mike Ryan.
Bit of hip and shoulder there between the two battling for 4th place, and that was a tough entry into turn 3 for Sorg. Too far to the inside to really keep that line going. Here comes Mike Ryan down the inside into turn number 7 and 8, and he clears the 71 that time through, took it with conviction, but that was a little bit hip and shoulder, little elbows out action between those two, but the radius that the 71 was trying to make just wasn't going to happen if the 320 didn't give him the space, and it just got so tight and condensed there through turn 3.
Well, Sorg trying to power ahead here back on Mike Ryan as we get the white flag lap this next time by here for Matt Alexander. There's Matt. Haven't really talked about him so much. A lot of jockeying for position towards the back as Taro right behind him. He has cut that lead back to 4 seconds here. Taro Kishida with 1 lap to go. A big what-if scenario for Taro Kishida. What if he didn't start towards the back? But Matt Alexander, the 157, still has some lap traffic here to contend with. Coming up here on the lap car, it looks like that may be the 15 of Art Zeismer going by here, as Taro is now maybe about half a straightaway or almost a full straightaway behind him now. What a comeback for Taro Kishida from 13th starting spot all the way to 2nd place, trying to gain the lead here, as Taro was about 0.7 a second quicker that last time by than Matt Alexander on that last lap.
Just really impressive, and you mentioned it. What if Taro hadn't started right at the rear? But he has done about as much as he could do with it. Give him 3 more laps, he might be there. I'm just not sure he's going to have the time to catch Matt Alexander, who, by the way, had he not established the lead that he did, he probably wouldn't be leading this race right now. Took the opportunity and drove away Matt as they come up the back straightaway for the final time.
Well, he definitely took the advantage of it, and he drove right off into the sunset here, into the clouds, as trying to get around the lap car. That's actually Tom Bagley in the number 3. Alexander negotiates that easily. Taro Kishida looks like is just going to run out of just a little bit of time here, as Matt Alexander will negotiate these final corners. Taro Kishida with an incredible comeback effort, but it's not going to be enough. Matt Alexander, the 157, will come by this time by. He will win the SM race here at the Autobahn Country Club. Taro Kishida finishes 2nd. He cut that lead down to about 4.5 seconds. What a comeback for Taro Kishida as we get our remaining top 3 here. Lap car of Art Zeismer going by, and it looks like Mike Bernardi in the number 8 will finish 3rd. That will be our podium for our Spec Miata battle. Mike Ryan will finish 4th, holding off the hard-charging Greg Sorg for 5th. Kyle, what a race. What a race.
Spec Miata never disappoints. It never does. You can have a field of 2 of them, and they would still put on a show somehow. But 16, definitely enough for us today. Matt Alexander, what an exceptional drive. And Taro Kishida, you have to point out that he started basically at the tail of the field, drove all the way up to Matt Alexander with no assistance from a full course yellow. It just drove all the way up there and almost caught Matt Alexander. Mike Bernardi from the tail of the field up to a podium position. An exceptional drive for him. And the 320 of Mike Ryan, another driver that started from the tail all the way up to 4th place. You just have to talk about some of the drivers that started up front and didn't finish there. Scott Ballard was one of them. We saw him drop back pretty quickly at the start of this thing, and Jim Dvorak, 13th place here as we have a look at the results.
Well, look at our top 10. Matt Alexander wins, Taro Kishida second, Mike Bernardi third, Mike Ryan fourth, Greg Soar grounding out the top 5. Ethan Tyler hanging on to 6th place, Alex Bertagnoli outside pole sitter in 7th, Billy Benning 8th, Eric Halleck a nice run in 9th, and Scott Ballard rounding out the top 10. That will do it for our first race here today at the Autobahn Country Club. Our Spec Miata race has completed, as we will we'll be right back here in just a few minutes with our SM2 race. You can only imagine what that will be like. We got 9 feisty drivers trying to take away the win in the SM2.
SM2 up next, and that was Spec Miata here from Autobahn Country Club, the South Course here this afternoon. Thanks again for being with us here on this this wet afternoon. It got a little drier throughout that race, and we got to watch some exceptional battles for the first of our 3 races here this afternoon. SM2 is up next with 9 drivers in that one, followed by our GT race, which will be this afternoon. Another 9 drivers in that one as well. We'll be sticking with you while the podiums happen down there on the racetrack, and we'll be joined with SM2 here in just a couple of minutes. Stream live races from Autobahn's YouTube channel. Please like our videos and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the action. And also the Autobahn Member Race School will have 2 more sessions in 2023. Space is limited. Visit the member site for more information. Well, an excellent race to start the afternoon here from Autobahn Country Club. 16 drivers. Didn't document the challenge for Brandon Schwartz there in the closing moments of that race. Dropped 3 laps down to 15th place. I wonder if that had something to do with the contact with the curbing that he had leaving the far end of the course. That was at turn number 8 where he ran a little wide and got into the curbing and might have broken something on that number 46. Didn't catch the end of it. Brandon Collins also out in 16th place.
And that was the remainder of our results for our Spec Miata race here. We'll be back in just a few minutes following our podium award ceremony and our commercial break. We will get you back going with our SM2 race. This is Matt Lauterbach alongside Kyle Heyer. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
At Lexus, you have to feel it to believe it. Experience the exhilaration of the Lexus Performance line.
Hey guys, Brett Harper here with Kart Circuit Autobahn, wanting to invite you out to our Wednesday night Summer League. We run 2 different weight classes. We've got 180 and 210. 180s for small guys like me, 210s for bigger guys. We'll run 3 laps of qualifier, followed by a 15-lap race. Then we do a 17-lap race, and lastly, we'll run that 20-lap race. We add up to 40 pounds of ballast to the go-kart for even racing, so if that sounds like fun to you, check out our website, kartcircuitautobahn.com, for more information. We'd love to race with you. Let's see what you got.
Define nature. It's what defines the all-new 2024 Corvette E-Ray. The quickest Corvette ever, with 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. An electrified all-wheel drive that handles all 4 seasons. A supercar of contrasts. It's everything you never expected. One like none.
We're here at the acclaimed Daytona International Speedway to show the Blazer EVSS in a way it's never been seen. It's beautiful with a sleek and dynamic design, but performance is in our DNA. And what better way to put the Blazer EVSS to the paces than having Team Chevy NASCAR drivers Daniel Suarez and Ross Chastain get behind the wheel.
She looks fast.
Sure does.
You want to see what she's got?
Let's go.
All right. Yoo!
This is a Blazer EVSS. Let's see what Wild Mode can do.
Let's go. Yes! So much torque.
This is what performance sounds like.
What a ride. You think the Cup car will be that smooth? My turn to drive.
from 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds. Experience the sound of performance.
Yeah, I was definitely faster than Daniel.
Autobahn Country Club South Course, welcome back. This is a gorgeous Sunday afternoon here as the SM2 field gets set to go racing here from Autobahn Country Club South Course. And here we go, getting set up here in just a couple of minutes' time. Welcome back to Autobahn Country Club South Course on the Sunday afternoon of racing here on June 11th. The SM2 field is getting ready to go racing. 9 drivers getting set up side by side in just a couple minutes' time. They'll have 2 pace laps to get themselves set up, and Matt Breathless joins me after the Spec Miata podium. Running back up here, he's working hard up here in the booth with me today. Kyle Heyer joined by Matt. Welcome back, Matt. I'll give you just a second to breathe, but here is our top 10 for the SM2 field. Let's quickly roll through the starting lineup here of the 9 drivers that are here. Row number 1 is Mark Sadelsky in the number 83 with a best time in qualifying of a 2:03.950. Just 40 thousandths of a second behind is Bob Grozlak in the number 89 car.
And as I'm catching my breath here momentarily, we have Emmett Ryan in the number 81, starting in 3rd place. Alongside is Gary Traverso in the number 72. They will make up row 2 here, Kyle.
And in row number 3, in the number 06, it's Chris DeMuzio with a 2:15.510. And Luke Satterfield, the number 13, will roll off alongside him in row 3 in position number 6.
And row 4 for our race today will be the number 211 of Noel Sachs. Alongside is the 523 of Joe Miklos. And rounding out our 9th spot here for our 9-car field today is Bill Hamill, and ironically, the number 9. So as I come back here from podium and still trying to catch my breath, we got to talk about the track conditions here, Kyle, because track conditions played a major factor in the race for the Spec Miatas. Basically, if you started up front and you were on slicks, or on wets, I mean, you were going back because the track began to get drier, the conditions were changing, and we saw a lot of drivers starting towards the back just able to slice and dice their way towards the front, such as Taro Kishida, Mike Bernardi, who I just talked to following the podium awards for a brief second. What a race that last one was. What do you expect to see today?
Well, I think the conditions were probably going to be a bit more challenging in the prior race than the next one because it appears that most of the precipitation has left the area. What we're left with now is a racetrack that's mostly dry with a couple areas of some standing water. You can see just the color change in the pavement. Some of that is because the pavement changes. You see that center area there where there's a different, a newer pavement area, but there is some places that do have some standing water. Those areas will be treacherous and slippery, but for the most part, I think you're going to be on the dry line. You should be okay. I still think some of the serrated curbing on corner exit could be holding some water, so you can't just drive with reckless abandon. You have to be cautious, Matt, but I do think for the most part, we're going to be running the traditional dry line around here. The other thing you don't want to do is get yourself off in the grass because that will still be very, very slippery.
Oh, we did see a lot of drivers go off in the grass. I think it affected Brandon Schwartz towards the end of the race. As we saw him go off, his car wasn't handling. I'm pretty sure it affected something in the undercarriage of that car as he fell back to 15th after having a top 5 car all day. Same with Brandon Collins as well, who I think slid off. But we do want to get you some announcements going on here at the Autobahn Country Club. Autobahn's next motorcycle session will be June 30th, which will be a little under 3 weeks from now. Do not miss your chance to take your bike out on the track this month. Again, that will be on June 30th, which is a Friday at the end of this month. Ironically, last day of the month here, Kyle. What a better way to do it. What a better way to end out the month than by racing here at the Autobahn Country Club on your motorcycle. And also, while you're doing that, if you need a golf cart for the day, we have 2 Autobahn golf carts which are available for members to rent by the half day or full day. For more information, find it at the Talk Around the Track website. So 9 cars make up the field, and while we're doing that, we'd like to thank our sponsors for today's race, Cutting Edge Graphics and First Bank Card Processing, for sponsoring today's races. They have been incredible so far. Kyle, 9 drivers make up the field. Again, not 10 cars, actually. 10 cars. Not as crazy as a 15-car field. It was still crazy from the last race, but can they top the craziness here in excitement?
If we learned anything, it's that you don't need a big field to have a big excitement. So I'm really excited for SM2 here. In just a moment's time, we are following the Lexus LC500 pace car. Lexus is the official pace car for today's races. The ultra-white LC500 is the official pace car for the 2023 season. It means they're about to rack up and stack up behind that LC500 and go racing another 20-lap adventure, as it looks like we have our 10th car. That's Jack Kobus that's going to join us at the tail of the field.
Jack Kobus, a rookie in the SM2, won the pole here the last time out on the North Circuit. He has been incredible so far, and he's going to have a big challenge here. We'd also like to thank the Signature Production Group as well for sponsoring today's race, as well as Signature, contributing a lot to our technology and equipment that we use for our productions here. We also have another announcement. Coming up this Friday at Autobahn is Full Track Friday. come out to the club to drive the full track and stay for the patio party with live music from Gregory Hyde. Interested in going? Please RSVP on the Autobahn app. So great way to get out and be more involved in this great country club here in Joliet, Illinois. So we have 5 rows of 10 cars here going double wide here, this time by a pace card. Will pull off to the pit exit, or pit entrance, I mean, and the drivers will get the green flag waving in the air. 10 cars make up our field today for the SM2 battle. It is Mark Stadolski and Bob Grosselek who lead the field of green flag waving, and we are racing. And back towards the back, looks like the outside pole sitter or the pole sitter. Outside pole sitter, actually. Bob Grosselek struggling. Mark Stadolski able to take the lead for the moment as they are double wide behind him, now trying to go 3 wide through the first 2 turns, heading towards the back of the pack. But Stadolski leads, and it looks like Gary Traverso, actually, in the 72, taking over the second spot right now for the moment as Stadolski in that red 83 sets sail ahead of the rest of the field.
I think there's a lot of drivers here that are still unsure of what the conditions are going to hold for them in some of the areas of the racetrack that they haven't been at speed since we qualified earlier today. Best qualifying time was a 2:03.9. What will the lap times be? We saw them be almost 20 seconds faster in the Spec Miata race earlier. So far, strung out as Stadolski leads the way down to turn number 6 and 7. Some of the new pavement on the course that is going to drain a lot better, and it's also going to have a lot more grip on it as well. So you can carry a lot of speed here. Nose to tail down into turn number 8, though.
Well, this looks to be a lot different of a start compared to our Spec Miata race. The field taking its time right now, evenly single file, now starting to be spaced out. That's actually Emmett Ryan in the number 81 that moved into second over Bob Grosselek in the number 89 as Stadolski continues to lead. And one car off in the grass, right side tires off. I think that was the 523 of Joe Miklos, who actually got his car off in the grass there just a little bit. Now brake lock up from Ryan exiting the back straightaway, but no contact as of yet. He is able to keep it straight as the field now single file looks to be a bit evenly spaced as Stadolski will come around. He will lead the first lap here in this 20-lap event at the Autobahn Country Club for our SM2 race.
For Emmett Ryan, the big concern there when you drag a tire like that through a braking zone, that was a long lockup, and what it'll do is it'll continue to lock up and catch that flat spot, and it'll just continue to grind that tire across the surface. So he has to hope that it didn't put a lot of damage into that tire because you'll feel that throughout the rest of this race. Stadolski, then Emmett Ryan, then Bob Grosselek, then Joe Miklos, who drove up through the field, started 8th place all the way up to 4th on the opening lap, so a good climb there for that blue number 523. Good, strong start and really tight line there through turn 4 as a couple others track out a little wider, trying to carry some more speed. In these SM2 cars, the speed versus distance calculation isn't always the classic line you'd expect to see. Sometimes you're going to try to carry more momentum and run a slightly wider line.
Well, we've seen a lot of drivers here run a very wider line already, especially at the start of the race, as we have a battle for second here. Grosselek, who was the outside pole sitter looking to regain the second spot from Emmett Ryan. Grosselek didn't really get off to the best of starts there, Kyle. He kind of, I don't know if he spun the tires or if he just didn't get the jump on the shift to the right gear at the moment, but he didn't really get going as quickly as he had hoped to, as he lost a lot of time to Stadolski and got overtaken by Ryan. But here is all over the back bumper of Ryan heading down the back straightaway here. Nice shot from our production team heading down the back straightaway here, going by Garage Mahal at the end of the South Circuit. As we make our way outside, now Grosselek on the inside of Ryan for second, and he's going to use that inside momentum, but Ryan's still hanging tough. But Grosselek powers ahead, and he will take the second spot back from Emmett Ryan, trying to take the lead, set his sights on the lead from the 83 of Mark Stadolski, who leads lap 2.
Yeah, maybe Grosselek didn't get the start that he needed, but he's definitely got pace. You saw that there as he got back by Emmett Ryan for second place. The gap to the leader is 1.5 seconds. So we'll see if the 89's got anything. But again, you mentioned the start could have spun the tires, could have missed a shift. I think more likely it was just didn't get the jump. And in a car like an SM2 car, you really need to be on it at the start. You're going to get jumped if you don't have a really quick reaction time, and the slightest hesitation can drop you a couple spots. So he's recovered pretty nicely, and there's a long, long way to go. So I don't think it's over by any stretch, but he has to keep Stadolski in sight and keep the pressure on that leader in the 83.
Well, he is keeping him in sight right now, but Emmett Ryan and Joe Miklos are still back there in the 3rd and 4th position, as we have, looks like, 3 cars battling for 5th through 7th. That is Gary Traverso in the 72, Luke Satterfield, the rookie, in the 13, and Chris DeMuzio in the 06, as Satterfield goes the inside of Traverso. Traverso, however, powers ahead on the outside with that momentum for the moment. You know, I did speak to DeMuzio in the drivers' meeting. Rookie here, took the Autobahn Racing Academy classes last year. Really enjoyed it, and here he is now trying to get himself in the top 5 as the battle for second still going strong here. Ryan, ooh, a little bit of a block there from Grosselak on the 81 of Ryan, as they're still nose to tail here, heading towards the front straightaway again. Looked like a little bit of a swerve up to halt the momentum of the 81 of Emmett Ryan, Kyle.
Yeah, got to be cautious with that. You don't want to be throwing blocks. You can go defensive. You just got to pick your line earlier. And you see him driving center track now. Grosselak running down the middle of the road. Here comes Emmett Ryan, though, to the inside. A little bit of a lockup there again, this time from the 89 of Grosselak into the first corner. So he's definitely pushing the issue and trying to keep Ryan behind him. But Stadalski has extended that gap out front. So while Grosselak is looking in the mirror, Stadalski is getting smaller in the windshield. And that perhaps is the more important position to be fighting for. If I'm Grosselak, maybe I let Emmett Ryan go, and I want him to go run down Stadalski and create a battle for the lead that then will suck me back into it. I don't necessarily want to mirror drive here too early and lose that leader and lose the chance for a win.
Well, you look at the lap times, too. I mean, Ryan was about 0.4 seconds quicker that last time by than Grosselak, as we saw he was all over the back bumper of him. He just wasn't able to make it happen. But, again, this is what Mark Stadalski is loving here, seeing in the rearview mirror. He wants these two cars behind him to be side-by-side battling, because that just puts more of a distance between himself. We see it all the time, Kyle. We've seen it in IndyCar. We've seen it in NASCAR. We see it in Formula One. And here we are seeing it again at Autobahn as the field goes down the back straightaway here. What will Emmett Ryan do? Again, he pulls all the way to the back bumper of Bob Grosselak in the number 89. And it looks like going to try and look the inside. No, Grosselak powers ahead for the moment. Better lap this time by for the 89 of Bob Grosselak. Now, Ryan pulls a little bit to the inside there. Tries to set him up on a crossover, but nothing to do there just yet as the field trekking their way. Now, Satterfield looks the outside of Traverso. That's a gaggle of 4 cars there for about 5th on back. And Satterfield, the rookie, overtakes Gary Traverso in the 72 for that position. So Luke Satterfield, the rookie, finished top 3 in the last race here, able to move up into the top 5, trying to set his sights on another podium finish here, Kyle.
Well, if he's a rookie, he's fooling me, because that was an exceptional job to make that pass around the outside at turn number 11, looking very, very collected right now. Going back to that battle we watched for second place, also have to keep your eye on the 523 of Joe Miklos, because he is reeling those two in as they do battle amongst themselves. I also wonder if Ryan is willing to sit behind Bob Grosselak, and maybe he's the one that will chase second place and see if they can run the leader back down. He knows if they fight, they're going to lose time. So maybe there's some intention here in staying behind that 89 and maybe letting them both run the line that they want to run and catch Stadalski out front, as the 72 of Traverso has DeMuzio and Jack Kobus behind, who started at the tail of the field, and now he's up into the mix here for 6th place.
DeMuzio's got his hands full right now, trying to set his sights on Traverso, but also try to defend that position from the 24 of Jack Kobus, another rookie here who has been outstanding so far, as the field going to make their way down the back straightaway here in just a second. Stadalski still leading that time by. He was 0.4 seconds quicker, but Ryan pulling up the inside again of Grosselak, but Grosselak once again moving up the high side to gain more of a momentum and a better entry into the corner. And for the moment again, they're still nose to tail. Ryan all over the back bumper of Grosselak for that position, just waiting in his wings, trying to make him slip up and get around him for that second position here as they will complete another lap. 5 laps completed. We have reached a quarter distance in this race so far.
So there might be something to what I just mentioned, because last time by, Bob Grosselak just ran the fastest lap of the race, and it was a 10th quicker than Stadalski. So running nose to tail, those two drivers are finding more speed than the race leader. So this is the old Darrell Waltrip co-opetition term I always bring up in racing like this, where you're following each other and helping each other, even though you're battling at the same time. Right now you're racing the racetrack, and later you'll race Emmett Ryan, you'll race Bob Grosselak, but right now you're racing Stadalski, and he's up the road.
Well, this is almost like bump drafting here at like a restrictor plate track of Daytona or Talladega. That used to work really great about 12 years ago with tandem bump drafting. And they're not pushing each other nose to tail. This isn't restrictor plate racing, but this is definitely gaining an advantage of trying to get more of a draft on another car to go chase down a guy who is in clean air but doesn't have as much of a draft right now, as the field looks to be a bit more evenly spaced, set aside from the top two for the moment, as Bob Grosselak and Emmett Ryan try to hunt down the race leader, Mark Studalski, who started off as the pole sitter.
And I think one of the other things we should document is that working together in an SM2 or Spec Miata race doesn't always mean that you're pushing or bump drafting. Sometimes it just means cutting the guy a break ahead of you. Let him run the line that he wants to run. Don't be a distraction to him, because then he can focus. And if he can focus, he can set his sights on the next guy you're trying to catch. So the coordination here is definitely more than just pushing and shoving and trying to push each other forward. It's just don't be a distraction. Don't race the guy, and maybe you'll find one more position to go hunt down, as the battle between Traverso, DiMuzio, and Cobus continues to be one of the more exciting ones on track. Now it turns 14 and 15, a double apex right-hander. It's really two distinct corners with a short stretch in between, but up onto the front straightaway, it's the 24 Cobus that's looking aggressive here on the back of DiMuzio.
Cobus, the rookie, trying to overtake another rookie in Chris DiMuzio for that position, as they're trying to hunt down the 72 of Gary Traverso, who has sort of fallen off a little bit. Traverso started off 4th, has fallen back to 6th, still trying to hang on to that spot up towards the top 5. And now it looks like Grosselak has put a little bit of distance between himself and Ryan there. It looks like Grosselak laying down a bit more faster laps. That last time by, he was actually 2 1,000ths of a second quicker than Ryan that last time by, and slowly but surely just trying to put some more distance on him for that position. As we go up on our drone shot here, tremendous battle from about 6th to 8th. It is Traverso leading in that black 72. Behind him is DiMuzio in that blue number 06, and behind them is that white and blue stripe number 24 of Jack Cobus. And Cobus is putting pressure on DiMuzio. DiMuzio needs to get around Traverso if he hopes to put some distance between himself and Jack Cobus in that number 24 car.
Yeah, this group together they're really doing a great job following in line, kind of getting ahead of the steering a bit. We've watched some other battles where the driver in behind is really chasing and maybe target fixating a bit and washing out, but this group is not doing that right now. They're running really nice laps, and demonstrated by Luke Satterfield, who's just ahead of them, running the fastest lap of the race, only by a couple hundredths over the race leader of Studalski. But Satterfield at a 1:49.969 was the fastest driver on the racetrack. It was now Studalski, and then Bob Grosselak, quicker still, that time by a bunch, 4/10 quicker than Studalski, your race leader. It is not over yet, 13 laps to go.
It is certainly not over yet at all, Kyle. And we did see at the end of that race, hey, Taro Kishida drove from 13th to 2nd and cut a 12-second lead on Matt Alexander, as we have a battle for 6 here. DiMuzio looks the inside of Traverso. Traverso powers ahead with that outside momentum, can't get around him, and DiMuzio losing a bit of time there as Traverso just powers ahead going into the turns 3 and 4 area here. That was a shot right there, and it looks like DiMuzio slipped a little bit on the inside going into that turn.
You have to make sure that when you're the hunter, you don't become the hunted, because Cobus is watching from behind, and a little slip from DiMuzio, it's all he needs. So you don't want to go from offense to defense in one corner. You have to plan it out so that if you fail at your passing attempt, you're not going to lose the spot behind you, because then that's 0 steps forward, 1 step back, and that's not the direction you're trying to go in these short sprint races. So now DiMuzio catching Traverso again, keeping the pressure on him, and I think, is that Bill Hamill into the mix as well, potentially, or someone else joining the party there in that 4-horse race?
That does look to be the number 9 of Bill Hamill, who overtook Noel Saxon to 11th for that 9th position here, as we have more battling going on ahead of them. If you look just ahead, Luke Satterfield in the 13 going after the 523 of Joe Miklos. That's for 4 Satterfield, who has a fast car so far, going to use that inside line. You're going to try and power ahead. There will be side by side, and Satterfield trying to make it stick. He will for the moment. Will Miklos use a crossover maneuver here? He will not, as Satterfield takes over the 4th spot from Joe Miklos. We have a lot of close racing going on here. Again, the field is more evenly spaced out. There are a lot more single file, but we do have some nice passing going on here, as Luke Satterfield is continuing to press as he has moved up into the 4th spot, trying to look for a podium position here as he sets his sights on the number 81 of Emmett Ryan. And also, we would like to add, do you follow the Autobahn Country Club on social media? Please like, follow, and share our content on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, which is what we are streaming our race on today. Help us grow the Autobahn community as we have our racing going on here today.
Absolutely, and what a show it is today. And we're not done yet. Look at Bob Grozlak. Quicker still, purple again for the third lap in a row. He is the fastest driver on the racetrack at a 140.9. That was 7/10 faster than the race leader. So while this group continues to fight for position, the lead battle is getting closer as well. But this is Traverso, DeMuzio, Kobus, and Bill Hamill all fighting for position for 6th place. Battles all over the racetrack, as you mentioned, and still 12 laps remaining in this race at Autobahn Country Club South Course. Look at those 4 slicing and dicing, and out front, 1.6 seconds is all that stands between Sadalski and Grozlak.
Looking here at our starting line, Mark Sadalski will be going by here in just a second to complete another lap, as we still have our battle from 6th to 9th. They're all single file. They're all right nose to tail with each other for the most part, as now Kobus with a run on DeMuzio. Kobus looking to the inside here for position. Will he have enough to make it stick? Has the momentum, has the preferred line. Traverso goes high. DeMuzio goes way high trying to get a better entry, and that pays off as DeMuzio holds off Kobus for the 7th spot at the moment. What a defensive move from Chris DeMuzio there. He was under pressure from Kobus, moved up all the way to the outside to try and get a better entry in the corner, and he made that outside momentum stick. As we have Grozlak here continuing to run, he's running faster laps. He's now 1.3 seconds quicker, and they're nose to tail here for the lead. Battle for the lead on our screen. Sadalski leading, and Grozlak, the outside pole sitter, trying to get the lead. And we talked about it. Grozlak has been continuing to chip and chip and chip bit by bit off of that lead of Mark Sadalski. He had a rough start to this race. Now looks the inside, has the line. Going to have the momentum for the moment, and he makes it stick. Now, Sadalski looks the inside, but he's not going to have enough to make it work as Grozlak overtakes the lead from Mark Sadalski in the 83, and he can power ahead here going down this back straightaway. What a pass.
I was going to say catching's one thing, passing's another, but before I even got the chance to say it, he went right on by. So the 89, who had that slow start from 2nd place, fell back to 3rd, now takes the lead and is under fire once again from Sadalski into turn number 11. This battle's not over yet. Little lockup from the right front tire of the 89. So now can Sadalski respond? He's still got the 89 in the windshield, and it's still big, but wow, that Grozlak car just turned in so well for 14. Can he put a distance on him now as we hit 10 laps to go?
Lead change here at the halfway point. Mark Sadalski has led all 10 laps so far, but Bob Grozlak is looking to lead the last 10 laps here, as Sadalski is still in his rearview mirror here, trying to find a way to get back around for the lead. Grozlak and Sadalski, they have been the class of the field so far here today. And Grozlak putting on a masterclass. Again, had a rough start, fell back to 3rd, got by Emmett Ryan, and it looks like we were saying, does he really want to be ahead of Emmett Ryan? Does he want to let him go by and have him go after Mark Sadalski? Well, we were wrong in that assumption there, Kyle, because Bob Grozlak has a fast car, and he is putting more distance between himself and Mark Sadalski for that lead.
And at the start of the race, it didn't look like Grozlak was all that comfortable with his car. It took him a lap or two really to get up to speed, but once he got there, it was just purple lap, purple lap, purple lap, continuing to chip away at Sadalski. Once he took the lead, he's not looking back now, and actually Sadalski's struggling to keep that distance down under about 5 car lengths, and you see at corner exit in particular, Grozlak is putting some distance. You see that gap growing just ever so slightly, and now Sadalski is falling out of the slipstream, and once you lose that in SM2, you really have to dig deep and find some more pace, because that draft is your last hope to getting that lead back away from Grozlak, who is on a mission right now to steal one from Sadalski.
Well, they're still evenly divided here, looks like. But, yeah, you definitely talked about it. Sadalski had that clean air. He had that momentum in that draft. And once Grozlak got around him, he kind of lost that a little bit. But here it looks like he's closing up just a little bit, trying to put a bit of a difference. He was just about 7/10 seconds slower that last time by, but Sadalski still looking. This battle isn't going away just yet. Grozlak still hanging on the lead, but he's going to have to go on defense now. He was great on the offense, Now how can he do on the defense here as Mark Sadolski tries to overtake him for that lead once again? They're still not nose to tail, but they're right there next to each other.
Well, I said you had to dig deep to get back to the leader, and he's doing that right now. But I think it's the back section of the racetrack where Grozlak's finding all of his time. Sadolski ate some of that time back up, really through turn 12 all the way to turn 1. But now that they're into this fast sweeping section, that's where Grozlak is gaining some time back. But if Sadolski can find a little more pace, he's not that much slower. He's just not quite as quick as the 89 at the moment. But look at the braking zones. He's closing in there. So maybe the point-and-shoot sections are better for the 83 who runs second. Grozlak has not been able to shake him as much as I thought he would be. And the second half of the track is where Sadolski's been a little better.
Sadolski definitely outbreak Grozlak going into that corner there. They're still evenly spaced. Looks about similar, maybe a little bit smaller of a gap compared to that last lap by. As we said, that Grozlak looked to be putting a bit more of distance between himself, but now Sadolski gaining a little bit here. This is where he said he's strongest. Closes up a little bit back here as we have our aerial shot from our drone. And Grozlak still hanging comfortable for the moment. That last time by, let's take a look here at the lap times as Grozlak continues to lead. He will lead here with about 8 laps to go. And the last time by, it was Grozlak who was just about a tenth of a second quicker than Sadolski that last time by. So they're running very eerily similar lap times here. Grozlak in that red number 89 McDonald's car trying to hold off Sadolski in that red number Lindblad construction car here as we have 8 laps to go in today's race.
Something notable, though, is Sadolski just ran his personal best lap last time by. So while he has lost the lead, he is running the fastest he has, and I wonder if some of that's the slipstream from the car in front. Some of it is having a rabbit to chase at this point in the race, and he's really turns 3 through 7 are where he loses all the ground, but he's able to make some of it back up. All it will take is one mistake from the race leader, and he'll be back in the mix. So he's got to keep him honest here, keep the pressure on. Turn 11 in particular, that heavy braking zone, Sadolski is absolutely destroying Grozlak. So now it's down to 4 car lengths, and if he can reel him in, down to 2, maybe 1 by the end of the back straight.
Looks like he was definitely reeling him in there bit by bit as we're going to take a look here at the remainder of the field going by. It is actually Jack Kobus who's moved up into 6th as all this battling has happened. Bill Hamill, what'll run for him, up to 7th, and Gary Traverso and Chris DiMuzio have fallen back to 8th and 9th. We would also like to mention that new programs have been added to the Autobahn Driver Academy for 2023, including one-on-one instruction and new Miatas and BMWs that are available for rent. Visit our website at AutobahnCountryClub.com for any more additional details here as we take a look at the battling. Now a car off on the grass. It looks like that's the 523 of Joe Miklos, who has fallen off the grass and has lost pace. Not sure if it's something mechanical. Not sure if he fell off the track. It looks like he may have just fallen off the track there as he's still going, but he lost a lot of time. He was 4th, actually 5th that last time by. What a shame for Joe Miklos in that 523.
Yeah, that was in one of the slower sections of the track where you can, whoa, big slide. He loops it this time as he's just struggling with mechanical grip in some way, just charging the corner a bit too hard. Now the tires are hot, covered in dirt and debris. He'll get back rolling again, but 2 issues, a push wide and a spin at the tail end of the lap here for the 527 of Miklos.
Does he have something up with that suspension? It looked like it was something on the right front of that car that was a little bit askew on the 523. I couldn't tell. Maybe he has a flat tire or something from going off in the grass. He's okay for the moment. He's not pitting yet, but we still have the field going around here towards the back of the pack as Bob Grozlak and Mark Sadolski continue to battle for the lead. Here we go with the drone shot again, and it looks like it's Sadolski who has gone around Grozlak for the lead as that battle continued going on here as all that action was happening. Grozlak still behind him. This is a battle of 3-dimensional chess here on the back straightaway. Now Grozlak looking to size up Sadolski, but Sadolski able to power ahead with that outside momentum for the moment. And Mark Sadolski reclaiming the lead and that number 83.
Okay, now roles reversed. Now Grozlak's going to be the one on the charge, and we know where he has been better. The challenge for Grozlak is that he's better in an area that's harder to pass. He's really good at turns 4 through 7, but those aren't really passing opportunities here. You have to kind of run line astern. So is he able to get a position back by Sadolski Mark was able to follow him for a couple laps, learn a few things about those faster sections of the racetrack, and now he's going to be harder to defeat in the final moments of this one. 6 laps to go, and Sadalski's got it back and establishing about a 7-car length lead over Bob Grozlak. So it's not over still. We saw it switch as quick as it did in the first place, but that 89's not done.
It's not over until it's over. As Mike Bernardi and Taro Kishida could probably tell you very well right now, Kyle, it ain't over until it is over. And when they cross a checkered flag, as Grozlak, with a little bit of momentum on the inside as we follow along on our drone shot here, they're right there. They're neck and neck with each other. They're running eerily similar lap times here. That last time by Stadolski was about almost a full second quicker than Grozlak. But Grozlak closing in here. This is where Sadalski is able to outbreak him the past few times. Grozlak looking here as they make their way towards the back straight. He's going to have a bit of a shot here, trying to pull up behind him and have an attempt to pass him for the lead. Here we go, nose to tail down the back straightaway as Sadalski got off that turn pretty good that last time by, able to power ahead a little bit and widen the gap between himself and Grozlak as they go through the turns. Looked like Grozlak had an idea of going to the inside, but Sadalski outbraked him for that spot there, Kyle.
Yeah, Grozlak in turn 7, 8, 9 was ahead of Sadalski in the steering. He was able to get down to the apex a little bit more efficiently. The run up the back straightaway, Sadalski stretched the difference and put some more gap on Grozlak. But with 5 laps to go, you have to start planning out your attack. It's going to happen in one of those heavy braking zones unless you can spook Sadalski out of it. But Sadalski has been pretty steady so far.
Well, this is another factor that comes into play here, Kyle, is lap traffic, because they are catching up to the back of the number 211 of Noel Sachs, who is about to be lapped here very quickly. So how will lap traffic play a factor in this? Will they be polite and pull over the side? Or will they play a big influence into this and allow Bob Grozlak to get around the number 83 of Mark Sadalski here? Again, there's still nose to tail. It's just a mind game right now between these two guys. Now it's Grozlak who needs to try and put the mental stress on Stadolski in that number 83 for position, and he's going to have a big shot of doing that as they catch up to the back of this lap traffic here.
Yeah, really all Sachs needs to do is run his line and not try to get out of the way. That will present a bigger hazard potentially for Sadalski. But what will happen for Grozlak chasing Sadalski is he knows that it'll take him out of his element for just a moment. But look at the run Grozlak has now to the rear bumper of Sadalski. He's going to give him a push, give him a shove, has a look to the inside, but doesn't have the run to go anywhere with it. I'm surprised he didn't go for that, Matt. I thought he had the run, but instead he chose to sit behind. You mentioned that game of 3D chess. I think it's 4D chess he's playing right now. He's playing with that fourth dimension. It's time. He's got a little bit of it left, and he's going to use all of it.
He's definitely going to use all of it. Heck, he may even use that front bumper of his car to try and move number 83 of Mark Sadalski out of the way. Not wreck him, but just move him a little bit, bump and run. As Dale Earnhardt famously said, just wanted to rattle his cage a little bit here. As, again, they're nose to tail. Now, Grozlak, again, all over the back of Sadalski, trying to overtake him. They are catching up to the back of that left track, and behind them, battle for third, Emmett Ryan under pressure from the 13 of Luke Satterfield. But right now, we're watching the battle with the leaders. Sadalski leads, Grozlak in second. They've already swapped the leads twice so far today. And here's Grozlak, looks to the inside. Sadalski trying to block, but moves up a little bit. And Grozlak has the momentum for the moment. He can't quite clear Sadalski, but Sadalski going to have to get around that lap traffic. He will lose a bit of time. And Grozlak able to power ahead as Sadalski dealing with issues with the lap car of Noel Sachs.
That was an excellent read by Bob Grozlak there. He saw the lap traffic coming. He put Sadalski offline, and he used that lap car as a pick. That was well done. But once Sadalski got around that lap car, he just didn't get the acceleration, didn't get the drive. Maybe he picked the wrong gear, just didn't go. And so that was an exceptional performance there by Grozlak to use that lap car as a pick, read the traffic ahead of time, and now he's got an even bigger gap back to Sadalski as the laps wind down, Matt. That was exceptional.
That was indeed very exceptional driving, and with about 3.5 laps to go, I'm not sure if Mark Sadalski can be able to catch up to the 89 of Bob Grozlak, as we do have a battle for third here. Emmett Ryan in the 81 trying to hang on to the podium spot, but Luke Satterfield in 13 is all over the back of him right now, as Ryan got off that turn much better than Satterfield did that time. He will hang on to the position for the moment, but I do want to talk about it because Grozlak didn't put a block on Stadolski at all. He just sort of moved him up a little bit out of that line because he had the lap car of Noel Sachs right behind them, used him as a pick. Grosslak ducked to the inside of Sachs, and Stadolski had much more of a difficult time trying to get around the lap traffic for that position.
And Sadolski had the opportunity to move across the nose of Grosselak. He hesitated, and that hesitation was all that Grosselak needed. He opened the door wide open, and he went for it here as we watch this battle for position between Ryan and Satterfield. This is excellent stuff here. Rookie who? He is just doing a great job today running inside that top 5 and continuing to put pressure on for third.
Tremendous driving here from Luke Satterfield, who finished in the top 3 in the last race here on the North Circuit, and now on the South Circuit, he's turning heads once again in a positive way, trying to get around the number 81 of Emmett Ryan. Ryan's car looks to be fading off just a little bit here. He was in second. He was fighting Bob Grosselak for second, and then he's fallen off, and here we have lap traffic again. Noel Sachs. What's going to happen here? Will Satterfield do the same technique that Grosselak used on Stadolski, or will lap traffic just pull off to the side here? It's going to all be decided on the back straightaway. It looks like Sachs pulls off the inside, and Ryan's going to have no issue getting around him there for that spot, and Satterfield does the same as well. So lap traffic pulled off to the side here. Didn't want to get in the way of this battle for third here as Ryan continues to hold off. Oh, a little bit wide there for Ryan. Able to keep it on the asphalt, though, as Satterfield closing in on him. We got 2 laps to go in this battle to see who will finish third in the final podium spot.
I'll tell you what, Emmett Ryan is feeling pressure from Satterfield. He drove into turn 11 really deep, dropped the left side tires at the exit of the corner there, and you can see Satterfield close right back up. A car length and a half, maybe down to 1 car length. Big slide there from the 13 as he engaged there. Oh, look at this, closing now into turn 3. He's half a car length back, and he is ahead of the steering of Emmett Ryan. He's going to have a run here into turn 4. Ryan is not able to go defensive here, so they're going to go side by side into turn 4, but Satterfield does not get fully alongside. Ryan commits to the corner and keeps the gap on Satterfield. That was a commitment difference there. Maybe some experience that Emmett Ryan has as an advantage, but Satterfield is still hounding him and making Ryan make mistakes, and that's the key here in the final few laps.
He definitely was getting inside his head there just for a little bit. Luke Satterfield, you could tell he was putting the pressure on Emmett Ryan. He was making him drive in the corner a little bit too deep. He was making him go in the corners a little bit too wide. But Ryan, with that outside momentum, able to power head it. Again, you talked about the experience. Emmett Ryan has more experience here over Luke Satterfield for the moment, and it may pay off here as we have 1.5 laps to go here. But Satterfield ducks the inside. It looks like they may be side by side down the back straightaway. Satterfield goes the outside now. Ryan is going to have the preferred line here going down in this turn. They're side by side. Satterfield powers ahead for the moment. Ryan not giving up on that rear quarter panel. Here we go in the turn, and Ryan powers ahead on the inside for the moment. Going to outbrake Satterfield, who didn't have quite enough going the outside, as we get the white flag, and the Stadolski is caught up to the back of Grosselak once again here for the lead. Mark Stadolski has pulled a Taro Kishida and has caught up to the back of Bob Grosselak for the lead here once again.
Battle for first, battle for third. It is on here at Autobahn Country Club. Emmett Ryan still feeling the pressure from Satterfield, but the commitment difference between those two is very clear. Satterfield had a really good overlap into turn number 11, wasn't able to hang on to it. Now Stadolski's mission, track down Bob Grosselak. He had the lead earlier. Bob took it back, then he took it back, and they switched again. So Grosselak leads the way as Stadolski tries to track him down. They're on the new pavement one final time through turns 6 and 7. Matt, this is coming back to the checkered, and it's going to be down to turn 11, turn 15. You're running out of time.
Well, Mark Stadolski clearly saw a broadcast of the SM race and saw what Taro Kishida was doing, and he just closed up into the back of Bob Grosselak in a hurry. He had a chip on his shoulder. He wanted to get back around him after getting beaten out by that lap traffic. He's got less than half a lap to do something here, trying to get around the 89 of Bob Grosselak. Here we go down the backstretch. Stadolski with a run. Grosselak pulls high, now pulls back the inside. Stadolski going low. Grosselak tries to put a block. They're both going to be going in side by side in this turn, and Stadolski with the advantage. Mark Stadolski. He leads, takes the lead away from Bob Grosselak in the 89. What a move, what a pass. Bob Grosselak tried to go defense here. It didn't work, as Mark Sadolski in the 83 comes around this time by. What an exciting second half. He will win over Bob Grosselak in the 89. And let's take a look at this battle for third here. Ryan with the advantage over Satterfield. Satterfield ducks the outside, has momentum, but Ryan going to pull ahead for the moment, and Ryan will win third over Satterfield for the SM2 podium. What a race.
That was awesome, and the commitment there by Sadolski into turn number 11. He just drove down the inside of Bob Grosselak, who tried to cover the move, but he wasn't able to do so. And for Ryan versus Satterfield, the experience paid off there in the closing moments of that one. Satterfield was not able to complete that pass despite numerous attempts to overtake the 81. Emmett Ryan, more consistent, more aggressive on the brakes. That was what kept the overlap. That's what kept Emmett Ryan on the podium for the SM2 race. What a drive, Sadolski by Grosselak in the final moments of this race here from Autobahn Country Club. That was wild. Last lap pass. That's what SM2 is all about.
That's what racing's all about there, man. I mean, this is a wet surface here. The track is not normal. As we take a look at our SM Top 2, Mark Sadolski wins an incredible race over Bob Grosselak, who finished second. Emmett Ryan third. Luke Satterfield marching to the front in fourth. Jack Kobus with a top 5 finish. He is fifth. Chris DiMuzio moves back up to sixth. Gary Traverso seventh. Joe Miklo slides to eighth. Noel Sachs ninth. And Bill Hamill, who had mechanical issues, falls to 10th. What a race. This is, again, this is the Takuma Sato mentality in IndyCar. No attack, no chance. We saw that there on the last lap of this race here, Kyle. As we're going to have our podium awards coming up here in just a second, and we'll have a couple commercials. We'll be back here in just a few minutes for our final race of the day, the GT Challenge race. What more excitement can happen here at the Autobahn Country Club? This is Matt Lauterbach. Alongside me is Kyle Heyer, and we'll be right back in just a few minutes for our GT Challenge race.
At Lexus, you have to feel it to believe it. Experience the exhilaration of the Lexus Performance line.
Define nature. It's what defines the all-new 2024 Corvette E-Ray. The quickest Corvette ever, with 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. An electrified all-wheel drive that handles all 4 seasons. A supercar of contrasts. It's everything you never expected. One like none.
Hey guys, Brett Harper here with Kart Circuit Autobahn, wanting to invite you out to our Wednesday night summer league. We run 2 different weight classes. We've got 180 and 210. 180s for small guys like me, 210s for bigger guys. We'll run 3 laps of qualifier, followed by a 15-lap race. Then we do a 17-lap race, and lastly, we'll run that 20-lap race. We add up to 40 pounds of ballast to the go-kart for even racing, so if that sounds like fun to you, check out our website, kartcircuitautobahn.com, for more information. We'd love to race with you. Let's see what you got.
We're here at the acclaimed Daytona International Speedway to show the Blazer EVSS in a way it's never been seen. It's beautiful with a sleek and dynamic design, but performance is in our DNA. And what better way to put the Blazer EVSS to the paces than having Team Chevy NASCAR drivers Daniel Suarez and Ross Chastain get behind the wheel.
She looks fast.
Sure does.
You want to see what she's got?
Let's go.
All right. Phew!
This is a Blazer EVSS. Let's see what Wild Mode can do.
Let's go. Yes! So much torque.
This is what performance sounds like.
What a ride. You think the Cup car will be that smooth? My turn to drive.
From 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds. Experience the sound of performance.
Yeah, I was definitely faster than Daniel.
Welcome back to Sunday afternoon member racing from Autobahn Country Club. I'm Kyle Heyer, awaiting the start of our third and final race this afternoon. We've just had two absolute barn burners of some racing, Spec Miata and SM2, both putting on a show. Most recently, the SM2 field with a last lap pass there by Mark Stadalski. That was an exceptional race, and I can't wait to do it again here in just a couple minutes for the GT Challenge race with Mike Keck on pole alongside Bob Nouri, and we'll get to that in a couple of minutes. It's been a pretty exceptional show so far, and thanks for joining us here on this afternoon. Make sure to subscribe to the Autobahn YouTube channel if you have not. Make sure you join us for the continuation of the member racing. And a big thanks to Cutting Edge Graphics and First Bank Card Processing for supporting the broadcast here this weekend and for the season. Appreciate their time and energy and investment for Cutting Edge Graphics and First Bank Card Processing. And some other trackside sponsors, the GT Racing Series, the Power Equipment Direct, Power Equipment HVAC, and CWF Restoration, as well as the rest of the trackside partners and people that make it all happen here at Autobahn Country Club. Well, there's a look at your podium again for the SM2 field, and what an exceptional show it was. 10 drivers putting on a scrap for 20 laps around the South Course here at Autobahn Country Club, the 2.1-mile track that is part of a much larger complex built here in 2004, and an exceptional facility with all sorts of great layouts here to race on and be a part of throughout the year. Coming up next is the GT Challenge race, which is our final race of the day. And again, huge thanks to the Signature Production Group for helping us put on these shows. The drone shots, the trackside shots, all of that put on and helped out by the Signature Production Group. Great show here. Some of those low drone shots are just really spectacular to watch as the Spec Miatas and SMs drive on by in their packs of 4, 5, and 10, it feels like at times. It'll be a 9-car race for the GT Challenge race, as I mentioned, with the Eurosport 691 on pole with a time of 150.365. That is a GT5 class car. Again, we qualified when it was pretty wet here this morning, and that means that our first GT1 will start in third, with GT3 and GT4 starting fourth and fifth. A couple more cars intermingled beyond that. David Calzada is back in the 174. That is that K-powered MX-5 as he rolls off the starting lineup, or rolls off the starting grid and heads around here for the remainder here of the pace laps. Welcome back to Autobahn Country Club and our Sunday afternoon racing. On June 11th, the GT race, the GT Challenge race, about to get underway here. 2 pace laps with our field of about 10. Here's our GT Series top 5. Of course, Dan Grove kicking things off the GT1 category. He's going to start third overall. Dick Ruck in the number, he's down to the number 40. He will start 8th in the GT2 category, 8th overall, first in the GT2 category. Ron Roshinsky is GT3, your pole sitter for that category, with Scott Benning in GT4 and Mike Keck in GT5. He's actually your overall pole sitter here. And we'll roll through your entire starting lineup in just a couple of minutes. 2 pace laps, so it's about 4.2 miles of pacing to get the tires and brakes warmed up to go racing here for 20 laps around Autobahn Country Club. And this is going to be a really interesting show, the highest powered cars that we've seen so far today in very different conditions than they qualified here this morning. We also just got a note that Brandon Collins will be joining us for this race. He'll be our 10th entrant. Didn't qualify, but is racing in a Porsche Cup car. I love those Porsche Cup cars. A flat 6-cylinder engine in the rear of the car. They make great sounds. So do the rest of the field. We've got a variety of car classes in this one, GT1 through GT5. And as you mentioned earlier off air, Matt, Mike Keck and Bob Norian starting on the front row overall in their GT5 class cars. That's your front row, the 691 of Keck and the 89 of Bob Norian.
And out in row 2, following Keck and Norian, will be Dan Gove in the number 91. A GT1 starting alongside is the number 7 of Ron Roshinsky in the GT3 race.
And starting in row number 3, it's going to be Scott Benning in the number 59. And in 6th, the number 174, the K-Power car, David Calzada, rolls off in 6th place.
And in 7th place for row 4, it'll be Sean Vanchekvicius in the GT3. Starting alongside will be Dick Ruck in the number 40, driving a GT2. And in number 9th, it'll be John Ranty in the number 339 in a GT3. Actually, we have gone road. It'll be Brian Helmentoller driving the car that we thought Brandon Collins was going to be in. So apologies for the typo there in an MX-5. My mistake, not on the Porsche Cup car. It'll be an MX-5 for Brian Helmentoller driving that 10th entry today.
Well, I love me an MX-5. I'm a little disappointed, though. I like those Porsche Cup cars a lot. But Brian Helmentoller will be behind the wheel of that MX-5, rounding out the rear of the field here as they come around to complete their first pace lap. They've got one left to go. Intermingling of GT classes in this category, GT1 all the way down to GT5. But they qualified in the wet. So now with the track dry, just like the Spec Miata race earlier, I'd expect a lot of shifting and shuffling on this opening lap, which means chaos.
There's going to be a lot of chaos, and that's all we've known in today's race so far today, Kyle. It's just chaos, just pure insanity. And I would not be surprised with that with our GT Challenge here today with 10 drivers, all opportunistic. Again, they're not all fighting for who finishes the start-finish line first. They're all fighting to see who finishes first in their class races here. That's the thing you got to keep in mind with GT classes here. Is we like to thank our sponsors today, Highland Management Associates Incorporated, Eurosport Racing, and CXI Trucking. We would like to thank all our sponsors for sponsoring today's GT Challenge race at the Autobahn Country Club. Our third and final event here this afternoon. It has been a crazy, crazy day full of action, racing. We saw drivers struggling on the slicks, drivers struggling on the wets, track conditions changing, and now we're going to see the final race here in our GT Challenge.
GT Challenge is coming up here momentarily, half a pace lap left, and they're all following the LC500 pace car. Lexus is the official pace car for today's races. The ultra-white LC500 is the official pace car for the 2023 season. Lights are out, and they'll rack up, stack up 2 wide and 5 rows deep, just like they have so far for the other 2 races. This one, though, larger displacement, aero, all sorts of stuff. These cars are fast, and they're going to go racing for 20 laps around Autobahn South.
Autobahn South has provided some excellent racing here so far today as the field bunches up. We'd also like to tell everyone that Autobahn Member Racing School will have 2 more available sessions in the year of 2023. Space is limited. Visit the member site for more information. And we'd also like to let everyone know that this coming Saturday, we have trap shooting here at the Autobahn Country Club. Use the Autobahn app for more information and to RSVP on there. Well, the field is bunching up here as a pace car will be going down pit road this next time by. It'll be Mike Keck in that black number 691, starting alongside the red, orange, and blue 89 of Bob Norian. They'll get the green flag waving in the air, and we are racing here our GT Challenge event at the Autobahn Country Club. And side by side through the first turn, the 2 GT5s going head for head, and Keck pulling out ahead of Norian for the moment, but Norian soars back on the outside, trying to take away with that preferred line, but now Keck with the advantage on the outside. He will take it for the moment, and Norian under pressure from the 91 of Dan Gove for that 3rd overall position.
There's that chaos we were expecting to see with the classes all mixed and intermingled from wet qualifying earlier today. Dan Gove in the GT1 class car rocketing up to 2nd place overall, and it shouldn't be too long before he'll have a run for the lead here. Single file into turn 6 and 7, new pavement, more grip as they work their way through. David Calzada in that K-Power car also lingering the back round as here comes Dan Gove around the outside at turn 6 and 7 and through to the overall lead down into turn 8.
Well, Dan Gove has got a really, really fast car. We've seen him set sail so many times here in GT Challenge events. He's won a couple of them. He's pulled off the track a couple of them with some mechanical issues as Norian under pressure. Looks like that's the 7 of Ron Rashinsky who got around him there for position. Again, Norian's trying to compete with Mike Keck for that GT5 Challenge race. And we have a car, looks like smoking, a car slow down the backstretch. It is a red and a white car. It is David Calzada in the number 174, another GT1 entry competing with Dan Gove, and it looks like his race may be over as his car had some mechanical issues there going slow down the back straightaway.
Yeah, that car has seen a ton of track time. It's pretty highly developed for a Miata, that's for sure, but definitely some problems and some smoke as he is slow through turn 14. He'll probably try to wait until this last car comes by and then duck onto pit lane, but he wasn't able to get there this time by with the traffic on his left. So he will stay on the racetrack as Dan Gove comes across the stripe. He leads lap 1, then Keck, Rashinsky, Collins, and Dick Ruck, the rest of your top 5. Brandon Collins, we didn't think was going to make it. He did in the 999. I believe that is a Porsche Cup car that it did make it out there on track.
All right, so you get your wish after all, Kyle. We got a Porsche Cup car out there right now as we have the field snaking their way through the turns 4 through 5 area right now, going to make their way towards this long back straightaway here in just a second. Tremendous drone shot from the Autobahn Country Club. It's just not been the greatest day weather-wise, but it's been a great day racing-wise with all the track conditions going on as we have the entire field going around here. And we're going to take a look at our leaders right now. It'll be Dan Gove coming around here in the number 91 with the lead right now. It looks like Ron Rashinsky has gone around the number 691 of Mike Keck for position, and now Keck under pressure from the triple 99 of Brandon Collins. Collins, who raced in the Spec Miata race earlier today, now racing the GT Challenge, trying to compete for a podium overall position here in our GT Challenge.
Down the back straightaway for the second time, and cars beginning to single themselves out just a little bit and working their way through turns 11 and 12 and heading back towards 14 and 15. The long straightaways here give cars a little bit of time to breathe, but it's Dan Gove out front. Then it's Brandon Collins in that 999 running in second place. That's 2.5 seconds back. Then Rashinsky in GT3, followed by Keck in GT5. Then Dick Ruck in GT, it's a GT2 car, I believe, in the number 40. That is your top 5 overall. Then Bob Norian, Scott Benning, John Rante, and then Sean Vinkevicius and Brian Helmantoll are the rest of your top 10.
Going to be some interesting racing here. Still haven't seen Calzada in that 174 pull off the pit lane, but still going around. So clearly he's gotten the problem worked out for the moment. I'm not sure if he got loose. Maybe he had a bit of a hiccup with his car trying to get it out of, shifted from third to fourth gear or something like that. But we do have a battle for position here. It's John Rante trying to get around the number 59 of Scott Benning. Again, those are two cars right there. Rante in a GT3 and Benning in a GT4. They are not currently racing for overall class position, more so track position on the track. And ahead of them is Bob Norian in the 89, who got off to a rough start early in this race. The outside pole sitter slipped all the way back to 6. Not sure what happened there, but he lost a lot of time to Mike Keck in the number 691, the other GT5 car in the field.
I think what happened is that he's a little outgunned there in that MX-5, but doing a great job continuing to work. As regards to Calzada, when we saw them leave turn 12, it looked like there was either a puff of black smoke or it was dirt and debris flying up from the curbing there. Oh, that was tight on the entrance, and that was a big chop. Nose chop there down at turn number 12. But, yeah, as far as Calzada goes, not exactly sure what happened, but it could either be mechanical or he just hit a bunch of dirt and debris and it got all on the tires. But he's not completely back up to speed just yet. We'll have to keep our eye on it as we work our way now through lap number 3. Gove, Collins, Rashinsky, Keck, and Dick Ruck still your top 5. And Benning and John Rante there, that was a little dicey.
How do you think John Rante feels right now? Had the position right there, went in the grass, kind of got the nose chopped off a little bit there from the 59 of Scott Benning there. But Rante closing on the back for them right now. That is for 7th and 8th overall on the racetrack here at the moment as the field snakes their way through turns 4 down to turns 5. We have Ron Rashinsky going by here. Mike Keck in the 691 falling in towards the clutches of the number 40 of Dick Ruck. And here's Bob Norian. And behind them, the battle between Benning and Rante continuing to heat up here. Rante is he's wasting no time at all trying to find a way around the number 59 of Scott Benning. And here it goes to the inside, but, man, Rante's just not getting into those corners really good. He's going really low, and he's clipping the grass there, Kyle. I know the inside is obviously the preferred line to make a move around a car, but Rante's kind of taking it a little bit too low there, heading towards the curve and almost into the grass.
Well, they took a swipe at him, and I think Benning looked in the rearview mirror and said swipe or no swiping, and just came across the nose and made sure that he's not going by. And that battle will likely continue. But Rante's just driving in there really hard, late on the brakes. But when you drive in there at that angle, your tires can only do one thing well. They can either stop the car or they can turn the car. They can't do both at the same time. So he's choosing all brakes and is understeering into the corner where it looked like Benning, while a little slower on the straights, is definitely balancing the grip level a little bit easier. Brandon Collins, by the way, has taken the overall lead and has put some distance on Dan Gove. So that 999, a late entry into the field, is driving away.
Brandon Collins with a very fast car. He won the last GT Challenge race here, and he has sailed up towards the front as we have another battle going on. Dick Ruck got around Mike Keck in the number 691. That was for 4th overall on the track as we're still following closely with this battle here for 7th and 8th between Benning and Ranty, as Bob Norian is not too far ahead of these two drivers. Norian could play a factor here, as this car is not handling all that great here towards the early part of this race. And 4 laps into this race here, Kyle, already, and we've already had a lot of action so far amongst our starting field here. As Ranty going to try and go low, looks to the inside, but I think he thought better of it here, he's just waiting for the right time, I think. I think he's kind of learning he doesn't want to make a move going into the corner. He wants to try and use some straightaway momentum, which we may see here on the back straightaway, to try and get around the 59 of Scott Benning.
It looks like he's got more pace than Benning, just doesn't have it in the area that he needs to make that overtake here, as he offsets the car to the right, but again, not willing to jam the car down the inside like he did the previous time. He learned his lesson there that wasn't going to work. But with Bob Norian just ahead, that might open the door with that slightly slower MX-5. That should open up the door, the opportunity now maybe to lock in Benning with a pick maneuver. So we'll keep our eyes on that. But unlike the SM and SM2 cars, you're going to notice a lot more tire degradation just from temperature rising over the course of this 20-lap race. So if you're sliding the car around, pushing it past the limit of grip, that's going to hurt your pace a lot more in this field than it did in the Spec Miata or SM2 race. So let's keep our eyes on that. The drivers that are looking wild are probably going to pay for that later, as here comes Benning up the inside of Norian, takes that spot into turn 4.
Benning going to move into the 6th spot as Norian slides back to 7th. And here goes Ranty to the inside as Norian slows, lets those two battle for position. Tremendous shots from our drone view. And speaking of the drone, we would like to thank Signature Production Group for all the technical support provided to the Autobahn broadcast. Learn more about their audio, video, lighting, and scenic capabilities by visiting signature.tech.com, as we have here Signature Production Group, a sponsor for the Autobahn Country Club, as we continue to follow and closely monitor the battle between Scott Benning and John Ranty for this 6th position here, as Benning still has the edge here for the moment, but Ranty's closing in here. Again, you talked about the momentum. That momentum is usually found on these long straightaways, such as this one here along the back south straightaway, as Ranty looking for a maneuver towards the inside, takes a higher approach, now ducks the inside, but again, Benning just cutting across his nose going in those corners here. This is interesting style of 4-dimensional chess here.
Well, I always look at driving on a racetrack like an exchange of energy, right? You're building energy down the straightaway, and then you're exhausting energy as you're slowing the car down. What you want to do is you want to keep those peaks from being pretty high, right? You want to keep your momentum up in general. So what it looks like John Ranty is doing is building up a ton of momentum and then having to throw it all the way in the corner and slow the car down a ton, whereas Scott Benning is averaging that out a little bit better. He's losing some time on the straights, but it's a slow in, fast out approach that is not hurting the tires as much. So if Ranty continues to do that, you worry about the front tires, the temperature that they're building here, as it looks like Dan Gove is working his way through some lap traffic already, but he's a long ways back, 2 seconds back from Brandon Collins.
Collins in that silver and orange number 999 just going to be sailing ahead here, pacing the field as we've completed 7 laps in this race. And Dan Gove, who started 3rd in this race and quickly took the lead on the opening lap, quickly got around them as they put a lap on the number 28 of Brian Helmentoller. We also want to note that David Calzada in the 174 did pull off into the pits. Not sure what was wrong with his car, but obviously a mechanical failure of some sorts on the 171 of Calzada. And that will mean that as long as things stay as they are, it'll be Dan Gove in the number 91 who will win the GT1 Challenge race, with his only competition, David Calzada, falling out due to mechanical issues here as the field snaking their way through the turns 4 and 5 area.
And as far as the GT1 category goes, that Corvette is a little more under stress perhaps than the Miata of David Calzada. So definitely a difference there between those two cars. But as they sweep into turn number 1, nose to tail here between Benning and John Ranty. This is very close stuff. Ranty pushes a little wide, uses more of the racetrack, but is going to tuck it in for turn 3. This battle has been the tightest of all of them so far this race.
This has been the closest battle going forward here right now at the moment. John Ranty trying to find a way around the 59 of Scott Benning here for position, as the field here going by here, completing yet another lap. And it looks like Brandon Collins in the GT1 actually is going to face some lap traffic here, trying to hold the number 91 of Dan Gove, the other GT1 car left in the field behind him, actually. I do apologize for that mix-up. as they're still going to catch some lap traffic here. They're going to catch up Sean Venchivius in the number 023 in the GT3 class, as Venchivius going around there into turns 4, about to go to turn 5, and Collins, if you'll take a look about maybe up towards the top of the screen, about a full straightaway back. There's Brandon heading right there. And, yeah, it's going to be kind of interesting here as we see Collins snaking our way through the camera angles, trying to hold off the number 91 of Dan Gove here. And we're going to be starting to cycle through some of our drivers here in a moment with our field going by us here. We'll start off first with Brandon Collins at number 999. He's doing double duty today here, Kyle. Ran the Spec Miata race today, had a great start in that, but then ended up falling off and not finishing the race. Looking for some more redemption in today's race here as he is leading the GT1 race and trying to secure a victory in that.
And super impressive for Brandon Collins because he jumped out of a Spec Miata and into a Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car. That's quite the transition to go from, and finding success in both is a super impressive drive as always. Running in second overall is Dan Govin at 91 in the GT1 entry. Running second overall, second in class right now. An impressive start to the day, and I think the challenge is in his GT1 car, likely a little heavier, maybe maybe a little outgunned perhaps by that Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car, but doing a great job running in second here as we work our way through with 11 laps to go now here in this race.
And look at the crowd that we have assembled here along the front south straightaway here. Tremendous drone shot here as the crowd have a good crowd on hand for us today here, trying to brave out this weather. It's not raining right now. It's just been very overcast. Slick track conditions, slick surface, and the fans, they're absolute troopers here, Kyle. They want to thank them again for continuing to show their continued support to the country club here and watching what has been a thrilling day for racing here as the field going to be making their way down the front straightaway here. Brandon Collins will reach halfway to go in this race the next time by, as we see the number 40 of Dick Ruck. That is for 4th overall in the race. Dick Ruck in a GT2 right now. He is the only GT2 in the race, and the only other car out there that is in a class of its own is Scott Benning in the 59, the only GT4 out there. Beside that, the main race is for GT5s between Mike Heck and Bob Norian, GT1s with Dan Gove and Brandon Collins, and GT3s as of right now, as Ron Roshinsky continues to lead the GT3 class, but he's got Sean Venchivius, John Ranty right behind him as well, trying to find a way to get caught back up to him here as the field looks to be more evenly spaced out, as looks like Roshinsky is going to have some lap traffic to deal with here. I believe that's the number 28 of Brian Helmentoller ahead of him there. Helmentoller in the number 28 car. That red entry right there, not far back behind them. Here we go down the back straightaway here, and Roshinsky going to use some of that outside momentum here, Kyle, to try and get himself around and just powers ahead of Ron Roshinsky. So what are you noticing here from the track conditions so far here, Kyle? Have you seen a change in anything or major, not something similar to SM2s, or has things sort of gone as you would normally expect for them?
Well, I think at this point in the day, again, we started with changing and challenging conditions from a wet track in qualifying that was very wet to then dynamic conditions in the Spec Miata race to less dynamic but still a little slick in SM2. Right now in the GT Challenge race, everything appears pretty dry, pretty calm, cool, and collected. So as far as track conditions go, I think they're about as good as they've been all afternoon, which means that the grip level's there and people can push. I did want to mention Ron Roshinsky's car. That's one of the GT3 entries. He is running a BMW M2 CS Cup car, which you can see those race over the SROTC series as well. Those are exceptional race cars, really well designed, really well built, and kind of a plug and play into a series like this, much like Brandon Collins' Porsche Cup car that leads the way. And there's something to be said about those factory cars that are built. They're just so reliable and so easy to push without breaking something, whereas a homebrew car like David Calzada's 174 Miata, that is definitely a track day bro car, is how I would describe that. I know David very well, and it's a very well-dialed car, but competing with cars that are factory race cars is a challenge, and we saw that today.
We definitely did see that today. Obviously, a bit of a tough break for David Calzada. Built that own car, has it factory made as well, and unfortunately just had mechanical issues early on the very first lap. I'm not sure what his issue was. He had we saw black smoke popping out the back of that car. Couldn't tell if it was something engine-related, maybe transmission-related, not 100% sure, as the field snaking their way through the final two turns here, heading towards the front straightaway. There's Brian Helmentoller in number 28. Lap car just riding around towards the back, currently 10th overall on the racetrack right now as Brandon Collins continues to pace the field here. Brandon Collins about 2 seconds ahead of Dan Gove in the GT1 race. That's not only the lead overall on the track, but also for the GT1 Challenge race as well.
I'm actually a little surprised that Collins hasn't built the lead more than that. Gove is still about 2 seconds back. That gap has been like that really for the last 15, 20 minutes of this 18-minute race. So Gove isn't losing a lot of ground. That means if Collins makes a mistake, Gove will be right there to pounce. And that time through, Collins at a 1:28.408, Gove at a 1:27.193. So about a half second, that's a 1.3 second gain for Gove over Collins. And that means that we thought Collins would have an easy overall win. I don't think easy is the right word to use, perhaps.
No, I wouldn't say it's easy overall. Just ask Bob Grosslack how easy it was to hold off Mark Sadalski at the end of that race there. He thought he got around him with lap traffic. More jockeying for position going on here towards the back. It looks like that's Bob Norian. And is that Sean Vanchivius? Yeah, it is. Sean Vanchivius in the 023 and Bob Norian. Vanchivius going around Norian for position right there. Again, that's not for overall class position, though. That's just for overall track position as of right now. As Brandon Collins continuing to pace the field, puts a lap on John Ranty right now. Ranty, not sure what happened to him. Lost touch with the 59 of Scott Benning in some way. Couldn't tell if he had gotten off track or just slid up or if Benning chopped him off once again. But John Ranty going a lap down here to the number 999 of Brandon Collins here in this race. As we have 6 cars remaining on the lead lap as Brandon Collins is just slicing and dicing his way through this field. Actually, that was Dan Gove in the 91 actually going around Bob Norian there as Gove goes to the outside of Ranty to complete another lap. They will get 7 laps to go this time by for the number 999 of Brandon Collins trying to hold off the 91 of Dan Gove. So, Kyle, what do you think, what type of strategy Dan Gove would use? You said you were surprised that Brandon Collins didn't extend the lead over Dan Gove as much as he would like to. What do you think the strategy is for Dan Gove going forward here?
Well, he's certainly running quicker lap times right now, so if he's got a good view of Brandon Collins, keep doing what you're doing. Just don't overheat your tires, don't overheat your brakes at this moment. Again, you've got more engine than the 999 does, so prioritizing your straight line speed, probably what you want to do if you're in Dan Gove's Corvette. But Brandon Collins, while he's leading, it's the challenge is, are you going to run down that 999? If you think you can, go for it. If you don't think you can, don't waste your stuff on it, right? Don't waste your tires, don't waste your brakes. But he can see that 999 leading, so go get him.
Might as well go get him. I mean, he may be sizing him up, waiting till the end of the race. I mean, we saw that with Taro, we saw that with Mark and the SM2s, and these two right now, they've made sure that lap traffic is no issue, as they have just sliced and diced their way through all of the lap traffic here. As Brandon catching up towards the back of a couple more lap cars. I believe that's Mike Keck in the 691. And there's Scott Benning in the 59. Benning and Keck racing for position. And Gove goes off the grass. Dan Gove with a rough entry off the back straightaway. He has fallen off into the grass. So just what we had talked about. And here's Collins going the inside of Keck. Gets by Benning, but couldn't get around Keck right there. Very close for our race leader and Brandon Collins. A very aggressive move for him late in this race there. Kyle went for it right there, took a peek, and thought better of it just in the nick of time as he goes by and laps Mike Keck, the number 691.
Yeah, 2 surprising moments there. One, the surprise from a mistake from Dan Gove. I thought I saw another car in the background slipping as well, so I wonder if the surface in that corner is just a little bit slick. But the 999 of Collins got stuck in some lap traffic, and maybe Gove saw that opportunity coming, saw the group of lap cars, and knew that he had to push to get up to that 999, but he ended up costing himself some time instead. Lost 4 seconds with that maneuver, so that's going to put him the wrong direction. You see the gap now, 30 car lengths now. It was much smaller than that, and he still has to get through the lap traffic. So maybe pushing a bit too hard, but there's still time left and still time for mistakes to happen.
There definitely is. As we saw going into the first turn right there, Brandon Collins with an aggressive move looking to the inside of that lap car of Mike Keck right there, trying to get around him and put some more distance. Almost took the front right front fender off that car, as it looks like Gove is going to have no issue getting around the lap traffic here of Scott Benning. Now sets its sights on Mike Keck. Here he goes, negotiates that corner fairly well. So I just wonder if he was charging the corner a little bit too deep. He did have the lap car of Brian Helmentoller there. I'm not sure if Helmentoller made it a bit difficult for him, sort of cut him off right there, or if Gove was just trying to be a little bit too opportunistic to get around the lap traffic there and continue to chase after Brandon Collins. But anyways, it has cost Dan Gove a bit more time, and he actually did run 0.2 of a second quicker that last time by than Collins did in the 999.
Yeah, one of the other things to consider when you're getting into these faster GT categories is your grip is a combination of aerodynamic grip and mechanical grip from the tires and suspension. When you're at low speeds, like the far end of the course at really turns 8 and 9 and 10, you don't have the aero grip. Greg Creamer refers to that as false grip, because the faster you go, the harder you can take the corners. Once you're at slow speeds, that aero completely goes away. And if you charge a fast corner in an aero car, you can get away with it. You can't get away with it in the slow corner. You don't have that extra grip to lean on. And that's something that can be very challenging to figure out when you're trying to catch somebody. You push a little too far in one corner, it'll bite you a lot more than another. And the slow corners are sometimes trickier than the fast ones. And I've always heard your hands, fast in the slow stuff, slow in the fast stuff. Keep it nice and smooth.
Well, I definitely think that was the case there, as Dan Gove maybe just went a little bit too fast in the slower corner, a corner that you really need to be slow at. It's a high braking entry corner here going down in this SS area here, as we see Gove and negotiates that corner fairly well. That was a fairly smooth job by him. Up the curve, back on the asphalt, up the curve, back on the asphalt here. Sets his sights again on Brandon Collins. And again, there's still time for mistakes to be made. There's 4 laps to go, and the lap times, Gove actually ran about a second, almost a second and a half quicker than Collins did. So slowly but surely, he's chipping off that lap time. But will he have enough time? I'm not sure if he will, as we do have more jockeying for position here, as it looks like it's John Ranty actually catching up to the back of, guess who, Scott Benning in that number 59 car right there. They have the lap traffic of Brian Helmentoller ahead of them, but John Ranty, you got to imagine he's a little bit frustrated with Scott Benning, maybe. Just a little bit, Kyle, you know?
Well, they've been like magnets today, and not the kind that attract. They've just been all over each other. And Ranty, I think, would love to beat Scott Benning in the closing moments of this one. He's been a little quicker at moments, but also overcharged the corners, maybe overheated the tires, and that's going to cost him some time in the closing moments of this. He could have already had this pass done had he calculated those maneuvers a bit more, but he kind of went for it in the moment. But now, as the laps wind down, the aggression level might pick back up again, and now you're running out of opportunities. So now it's a race against the clock, as well as a race against the 59 of Scott Benning.
It becomes that much more difficult for John Ranty. That's what 4D chess will do to you here. And you got to imagine, we talked about this earlier, Ranty's got to use that momentum straightaway, going down the back straightaway. I feel like that would be his best opportunity, because we've shown going in the corners that Benning has been very aggressive so far in trying to block him and cut him off, doesn't want him to get around. Again, these are two drivers not racing in the same class. They're battling for position on the track, but not for overall class. We have some more issues here. It looks like Dan Gove ran about 2.5 seconds, almost 3 seconds quicker that last time by than Brandon Collins as we watch this battle here. Dan Gove trying to pull off a little bit of a comeback maneuver here on Brandon Collins in that number 999 as Ranty and Benning continue to race nose to tail for position.
Yeah, for Collins to run a 1:30, that's 3 seconds off the lap times he was running. So that means he must have made a mistake, must have gone off somewhere. The gap now is about 15, 20 car lengths. So the lead battle continues to be close in the closing moments of this last race of the day. I wanted to quickly step back in on the Benning and Ranty battle, though, because those cars are very different. Ranty is in a Porsche Cayman that's a mid-engine car. The BMW that Benning is driving is a front-engine car. The dynamics of those vehicles are very different. The Cayman is going to have a much bigger advantage in some of those flowing transitional corners because of the better weight balance. The BMW much heavier up front, but that thing will pull down the straightaways.
They definitely has pulled a lot down the front straightaways, and it's been the deciding factor in this battle between Scott Benning and John Ranty right now as they continue to race. This is for 6th overall now on the track. Earlier was for 7th, but they've gone around some cars, and this is for 6 here as Ranty is not letting Benning out of his sight. He'll have about 2.5 more laps to try and do something. Now Ranty closing the inside very quickly, got in that corner very nicely, gained a lot of that distance back from Scott Benning. So John Ranty now looking to outduel Scott Benning in the corners here as they come down the front straightaway here. As we take a look at the lap times, it was Gove who still runs quicker lap times than Brandon Collins. That one was only by less than a tenth of a second here as this battle between Ranty and Benning continues to heat up for position here. Now Ranty going a little bit wide in that turn there, but didn't lose too much time to Benning for that overall battle.
Yeah, they're not battling for the overall lead, but I think these two have decided if you can't be in the show, you're going to be the show, and that's what it's been between Benning and Ranty so far today. Overall position battle, it has been the most interesting one of the group as the overall lead, Brandon Collins leads Gove, but it's not by as much as it was earlier in this race. That Corvette is tracking down the Porsche, and they're coming back to what should be the white flag lap this time by, Matt. So can Gove eat up the rest of that advantage that Porsche has? Two very different machines, one rear-engined six-cylinder, one front-engine V8, and battles on here as they come to the white.
Well, he's going to have one more lap to do it. The white flag waving in the air for Brandon Collins. Can he hold off Dan Gove in that number 91? Again, Gove led earlier in the race, but Brandon Collins got around him for that overall lead, and Gove is trying to rein him back in. Does he have enough time to do it? He'll have about 11 or 12 more corners left to do something here as Collins with about half, maybe about 10 or 15 car lengths advantage over Dan Gove right now. As Gove, a little bit of a slide up over the curve there, got off that turn a little bit too hard, slid up off the corner, and Collins going to set sail for the moment here unless Collins makes some sort of mistake here going through the turns. But unless all stays normal, Brandon Collins will win not only the race, but the GT1 overall class ahead of the 91 of Dan Gove for the moment here. They're going to have lap traffic to deal with maybe, but it hasn't shown to be too much of a deciding factor as these two cars have sliced and diced their way through it. They're the only two left on the lead lap, and now they're racing almost nose to tail for position. As Gove running a little bit more quicker here down the back straightaway. Collins trying to outbrake him. Goes through the final turns. And it looks like Brandon Collins going to do the best he can. Gove is running faster lap times, but he's not going to have the laps to try and do it. Here they come towards the front straightaway. Checkered flag waving in the air. And Brandon Collins will win the GT Challenge here at the Autobahn Country Club. And the field going to come around here to complete this race. Going to try and see what's going on in the battle between Scott Benning and John Ranty right now. That's for 6th overall. It's the battle on the track. And it looks like more cars going through here. Here's the battle going for Ranty and Benning. Right now, it looks like Benning's going to have the advantage. Smooth corner for both drivers. But Benning going to pull away just ahead there. What a battle for this race here as they'll come around. Field's going to come around here to complete these next few laps. Mike Keck going to finish 5th. He wins the GT5 Challenge, and Scott Benning will beat John Ranty right now. Ranty will finish 2nd in the GT3 class race to Ron Roshinsky. So our GT Series top 5 overall, Brandon Collins wins the GT1 class. Dick Ruck wins the GT2 class. Ron Roshinsky wins the GT3 race. Scott Benning wins GT4, and Mike Keck wins the GT5 class race. So, Kyle, what a race.
I think Scott Benning and John Ranty had enough racing amongst them, too, for the whole rest of the field combined. What a battle there. And then for Dan Gove, what a drive he had. Had that mistake late in the race, slipped back a couple of seconds, but gained all of it back and then some. Wasn't able to quite eclipse that 999 of Brandon Collins, but he put on a show in that black 91 Corvette. That was a great effort there. And he'll come home 2nd in GT1 and overall. But Brandon Collins showing up late, started from the tail of the grid, drove through the field in the first 3 laps. An exceptional drive, maybe perhaps not surprising, but impressive nonetheless.
Very impressive nonetheless here for Dan Gove as you see him and Brandon Collins pulling off in the pit lane there. That will do it for today's member races here at the Autobahn Country Club. We had a lot of exciting racing. Our Spec Miata race was thrilling. The SM2 class was an exciting finish. And here we have our GT Challenge coming to a full end. Our podium awards will be coming up here in just a second. We also want to talk to you about the Autobahn charity event coming up here in just a little bit here. Our Autobahn racing charity event, which will be going place here. in just a little bit following the podium award ceremony. As look at that, Kyle. We have a bigger crowd on hand here for the ending of this race here for our charity event coming up in just a little bit. We do want to let everyone know about some upcoming Autobahn events as well. Next Friday, or this coming Friday, June 16th, is Full Track Friday. Come out to the club to drive the full track and stay for the patio party with live music from Gregory Hyde. Please RSVP on the Autobahn app. And the next day, on Saturday, we will have trap shooting here at the country club. So please use the Autobahn app for more information and to RSVP. That'll do it for today's member races, everyone. Once again, I'm Matt Lauterbach. Alongside me is Kyle Heyer. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you next time for more racing at the Autobahn Country Club.